All right, and episode 307. I just fucked it up. Not enough sleep with my buddy Gregory. I don't know why I said my buddy. I don't know you. I guess that's just me talking. But you asked for it. You asked beforehand, can we cuss? And fuck yes, we can. And I try to just bump it all out immediately to just kind of weed out people who aren't going to like the channel. So I just like to start every podcast with like, don't be a retard faggot. And if you don't like that, don't watch the show. So just kind of push it out of the way real quick. Like,
it's funny you use the F word because, people that are your age, they'll be like, Gregory, that's so insensitive. And I say, look, when I was a kid, there were old people who used the word colored or Negroes because that's what they grew up with in the 1930s. So I still sometimes use the F word. But now, because of the cancel culture and the radical left is taking over everything, and they use like Orwellian, newspeak, and try to change our language and all that. That word will get you fired very fast.
Good.
In a regular job. But the reason I asked if you cuss is because YouTube. People who don't have YouTube channels, they don't know. Like you endeavor to try to get your episodes monetized because then you can get money from the ad revenue and so forth. But one of the things they look for is profanity. So the more profanity you have, you're less likely to get it monetized. Now, if you're not trying to monetize your episodes, then we can fucking cuss all you want. So, but it's your channel.
We're gonna cuss as much as we want. we're gonna 9/11 was orchestrated by some faggot Islamic terrorists. Do we get all the red flags now? Good.
Okay, but see, that's not the main conspiracy theory that it's done by Islamist terrorists, unless you're saying that America or certain segments of the American government hired them. The prevailing theory has always been elements of our government that did it.
Well, this is, and I've gone back and forth on this a lot, and I've kind of been examining it from as many angles as I want or have been or been able to. And my ultimate conclusion is that although it matters who orchestrated it, in a way it doesn't for the big picture. Because the big picture is there was an attack, we used it to go to Afghanistan, and then just kind of side shimmy into Iraq and occupy there. And obviously it is important, did the CIA orchestrate it? Was it not orchestrated? Was it organic, but they picked it up with the NSA surveillance net and said, why don't we just let this thing slide on through? Because it's still organic, but now we can just, let it happen, right? Dick Cheney telling NORAD to stand down. A little weird. And then a week later telling them, no, you're good. You can keep going back at it, which hadn't happened in its entire history. But so I don't know.
Problem, action, solution. That's the whole thing with COVID now too. Is you can't let a good crisis pass away an opportunity that you might have. Yeah. And with 9/11, it's not just it justified our inclusion into Afghanistan and Iraq, but it brought about the Department of Homeland Security. It brought about the surveillance state that we have now, where the NSA even admits every email is hacked, every phone call, your cable box can spy on you, Alexa and Siri are constantly spying on you, even if you turn them off. Yeah. All of this was kind of justified because of 9/11. So it just brought in this horrible Orwellian police state that we live in, and it's inchoate or early stages now, but it's really going to bloom in the next few decades because most Americans are so dumbed down in their history, so dumbed down in civics and ethics. They don't see it that this is a complete infringement on our civil liberties because, again, it's easier to control a population that is stupid and then doesn't know its rights. Think of all the people, the cops knock on the door, come on in, cops. Yeah. Or you want to go through my car? All right, that's fine. Put another Fourth Amendment. Yeah, another Fourth Amendment. Right? Yeah. So, it's easier. We're sheeple. Americans are mostly just sheeple. We just need bread and circus, right? Give us the food and give us our screens and just, we will let you do it. If you want to lock us down, even though it's constitutionally wrong, we'll just stay in our house all day and listen to Big Brother government tell us what to do on a virus that has a 99.5% survival rate.
99.97. Yeah. A little even higher.
So we give up all of our liberties. We let the government tell us what to do for a virus that isn't killing pretty much anybody unless you have massive comorbidity. Was like the average death of a COVID patient is higher than the average life expectancy of an American.
Just period, yeah. And not only that, it's there was a statistic the other, just because we just finished 2020, and like the last couple of days, the CDC released a stunning statistic. Did you know that common cold deaths were down 97% in 2020?
How did that happen?
Huh, that's weird. Just not in the history of keeping records, but last year it just dropped 97%. That's weird. It's because it's the same fucking cold. It's the same cold that killed old people. And the reason I've had on Delta Force guys, especially Dale Comstock, who openly, he goes, this is a bioweapon, and he goes, because it's asymmetric warfare. China knows that they can't meet us. They can't meet us toe to toe with aircraft carriers. They can't meet us toe to toe with fighter jets or with tank divisions. But what they can do is hit us from a different angle. And all you have to do is look at COVID, and you have to look at, they're not shut down right now. So they've essentially, it's an 800 meter sprint, and they've managed to convince everyone else to stop and tie their shoes, and they're still chugging along. It's a brilliant game, but that's exactly what it is. And just in time for the vaccines. Have you seen in the news the new COVID strain, 70% more viral? It's like clockwork. It's just coming in like clockwork.
But people are going to believe it.
Yeah.
Right? There's always, you keep people in a suspended state of fear, you lose your liberties. Like Franklin has an old saying, those who give up their freedom for security deserve neither and get neither.
Yeah.
So you keep everybody in a constant state of fear and vigilance because they're more likely to be sheeple and listen to what you want.
Yeah.
And so when you and I tell them stuff like this, they're like, shut up, because they're in denial. And again, they're just slaves and sheeple. And any free thinkers, they have to shut down. I mean, you see that happen now on Facebook and Twitter and all these things that are censoring anything that has anything that's contradicting the COVID line, the anti-vax sentiment. But like in my area with Mgtow and Red Pill, I mean, even that area, if you look, manosphere, men going their own way has been labeled hate speech by the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is kind of the big group in America that watches hate speech. And so we're up there now with neo-Nazism and all these other things because we tell men not to marry. Somehow that is hate speech.
Let's get into this. So kind of tie it back into what you initially asked, like monetization. So like that was the goal of this. Like I got into medical school in 2013 and graduated 2013, got into medical school in 2014, decided I wasn't happy, got into pharmacy school the next year, decided I wasn't happy, and then took a couple years to myself to kind of figure shit out. Started this podcast last December 2019. And I put out a video in like October or September, and I was like, is there anyone willing to like give me money for just living expenses so I don't have to spend all my time working at a fucking liquor store? And then I was like, and I'll just give you 49% of it. And someone signed on. Someone that has the funds signed on. And they're like, yeah, I'll give you 3-4 years of living expenses and see how far you can get this channel going. Well, because this guy is as like what anyone else would say, a hate speech neo-Nazi, but because this guy is like you and I, he was like, don't censor yourself at all. And I was like, well, it might not get monetized. And he was like, it'll work its way out however it does. There's Rumble, there's BitChute. I mean, Rogan just made his bang on Spotify. So
yeah. But to be clear, you ain't ever going on Spotify simply because have you heard of what Spotify's trying to do with Rogan? They're trying to tell him what guests he can have on and who he can't have on.
Yeah.
He had, going back to conspiracy theories, Alex Jones on. He's had him on.
I love Alex Jones, yeah.
And the people at Spotify, because Spotify is headquartered out of Sweden or Norway, and they have this hate speech guideline that they use for everybody else. And they're like, why does Rogan get exemption from it? Well, it's because Rogan signed a deal where Spotify can't tell him who he can have on and can't. But your content, I mean, no offense, even if it's great, Spotify isn't gonna get it. So I mean, your advertising is gonna have to come from some sort of company that doesn't give a fuck about what you say. So I don't know how you got this George Soros of the right benefactor to support your podcast, but yeah, that's awesome, man. That is awesome.
I appreciate it. Well, and that's what people are like. Who is this? And I'm like, so it's just a normal fucking guy. But I just like to play it off when people ask. I'm like, well, he's a shadowy figure. He lives, he's in the Bilderberg group.
There you go.
I'm like, you may know him.
Is he at the Grove? Is he at the
Grove? He's
at
Bohemian Grove. He and I actually, to get me to sign on, I had to sign with the blood of a child that was sacrificed at the feet of Moloch.
At the cremation of care.
Yeah. No, just a dude that likes the channel. But I've had Delta Force guy I talked to last night. He actually called me, and there's a company he's working with, and he was like, yeah, man, they might be interested in the podcast. And I was like, well, because Dale's come on here before, and Dale openly talks where he's like, we need to start shooting Antifa fags. And I'm like, I love you, Dale. He was in Delta Force for 10 years. He was in the CIA for 9 years. But yeah, back to people that don't give a fuck. I'm kind of slowly moving into that, where I'm finding through like Dale, I'm finding companies that they back this Delta Force guy. They kind of don't give a fuck, because Dale is as far from political correct as you can get. So he's a dying breed. He is amazing. He flew back from Bali because he lives in paradise. He flew back from Bali for to vote in the election, to quote, be here for the impending civil war. I love him. He is an American hero.
Well, I would say, like, if the Supreme Court would have overturned the elections, I think we would be much more likely to have a civil war, because the left is going to be the one that initiates it. Most people from the right, we pay mortgages, we have kids, we don't have time to destroy the country. We don't want to destroy the country. Yeah. Right. But it's the left that riots, loots, and destroys, as you know. So I don't think we're going to have a civil war. I mean, look, the thing was like this: if the civil war would have to come because who has all the guns? It's the right that has all the guns. So if Trump was still president, the commander-in-chief would be a Republican. He's not going to send troops to go against Americans because the army as a whole is still very conservative. But now that Biden is going to be commander-in-chief, yeah, I mean, they could do, again, going back to false flag attacks, they could do some false flag attack, or some shadowy Michigan militia, like the one that kidnapped Gretchen Whitmer. They could do something in some town, and he's going to have to roll out the military, and then good Americans who are armed are going to fight that. And I mean, we could have a civil war that way. But aside from him throwing out the military, I don't think we're going to go into civil war. I mean, I think Antifa and all the BLM nonsense is going to die down a little. They're going to give Biden some chance to see if he's going to, tap into the radical left agenda that they want. If Biden is smart, and we'll make the assumption that he creates policy, because you've already talked about the Grove and Bilderberg. My belief is that policy comes from, Davos, all
Absolutely.
these, and then they just give it to the teleprompt speakers that we call presidents. Yeah. Presidents roll it out. But let's say you believe that Biden actually has power. If he's smart, he needs to govern from the center, because in 2 years, the Democrats could lose the House. They lost a lot of seats in the House. They certainly didn't do well in state legislatures because they were being branded as communists or communist supporters. So if Biden really wants to heal the country, he needs to run down the center and ignore AOC and Kamala and all the radical left fringe. Because if he taps into that, then I think they're going to lose the House, and then you're going to see the right also be more pissed. But if he kind of runs and this is way before your time, like kind of Clinton, left of center, the economy does well under him, he says all the right things about uniting the country, then he might have a shot. Or he could just retire because of dementia 1 month in, and then we have the crazy shrill voice Lefty Harris become president. And then, Queen. God, oh man, then talk about civil war, because she'll roll in her radical left stuff. But still, I don't know, man. What do you think? You think the God-fearing Christian gun-owning people of America would they choose to take up arms against even a Harris presidency?
So I'm a bit in the minority, in that I still think somehow Trump's going to pull it off.
Oh God! Okay, look, really fast. So on my YouTube channel, Red Pill Men's Health, I do a poll every week since July. Who's going to be president in January 2021? And it's always, even after the election, 65% Trump. Yeah. I did the poll 4 days ago, and we are 3 weeks away from inauguration.
19
and
days.
Even now, 50%, like 2,000 people voted. 50% think Trump's going to be president. Explain to me, Thomas, how is Trump going to be president in 3 weeks?
Sure. Yeah, yeah, no. And I mean, with my biology degree and my years of experience in D.C., let me tell you. And what I always try to tell everyone is, dude, in 2008, I was 18 and I voted for Obama. In 2012, I was pre-med, didn't want Obamacare, so I voted for Romney. In 2016, I was really into psychedelics and being lazy, so I voted for Bernie. 2020, in 2020, voted for Trump. So, like, I'm not even some, like, lockstep one way or the other. So I try to give that to myself as some, like, you know, I do have some, I've proven to myself that I can, like, evolve my mind. The reason why is because it's kind of like what you said, like men who go their own way, right? You know, it's when I got into med school is despite what everyone told me, you know, go be a doctor. And you're probably wondering, how the fuck does this have to do with Trump? I'll tie it in. Like, why do you got to be why do you want to do this? And I was like, I'm just not happy. I just need to do what I need to do. And it was 6 years of just questioning myself, not knowing what was happening. Right after college, lost a sibling to suicide, like just went down a dark hole of just drug use and self-hatred, suicidal ideation. And the entire time, people telling me, you're an idiot. Like, what are you doing? You got into med school. You got into 15,000 applied to Miami, 100 got in. I was one of them. And now, 6 years later, I've pulled off a respectable salary for a podcast where I can just swear and call people retarded faggots and talk about Islamist terrorism. And no one can touch me because I don't rely on YouTube anymore. So I've shown through my gut that I've seen what works. To tie that in, I sat here in this chair on election night, and the thing I always point to is it's not just that I watched Trump win as it was happening on Joe Rogan, Steven Crowder, but I watched my leftist friends and the leftist media melt down on Reddit, on Twitter, on Instagram. So it's not just that I saw him win, I watched them watch him win. Right. And
okay, but ultimately, Biden is going to be president in 3 weeks.
Sure.
Okay, so how are we going to change that? Like, you know, the over here in my state, down here in Texas, our attorney general tried to take it to the courts.
Yeah. They didn't give it standing.
Right. So what's going to stop in 3 weeks? I mean, what is the path?
I don't know, because
there is no path, my friend.
Oh no, I'll openly admit that to you. I don't know, and there's a good chance I'll be eating a big old slice of humble pie in 19 days or 18 days, and I admit that.
This is what I told my subscribers in that poll. I said, look, there's a strong difference between wanting and being completely deluded. And I think anybody, and this is no offense to you, Thomas, if you believe that Trump's going to be president in 3 weeks, but every legal way to have kept him in office has been shot down.
Yeah.
He hasn't conceded. Yeah. He's not going to concede, but he will leave the White House on January 21st. Yeah. So there's nothing in the horizon to make us think that there's going to be a 180. The Supreme Court didn't want to take it on because they were in some ways smart, even if they did find voter impropriety, if they were going to overturn the election, talk about civil war, because the left is the one who's going to foment it.
Sure.
So even they didn't want to touch it. So it's delusion. People who think Trump's going to be president in 3 weeks are delusional.
Oh, it is. Oh, no. And I'm the first to admit it. When someone's like, what's your reasoning? I'm like, dude, I have no idea. And I've absolutely no idea. And I'm the first to admit that. I'm like, I have no idea. And there's a very good chance in 18 days I'll be going, well, that didn't work. So I don't.
Yeah, you can wish it, but that's not the same thing as happening. So, I mean, like, what cognitive dissonance is going through your head right now to make you think that Trump's going to be president?
Sure. Again, just gut watching up until 4 a.m. and then just seeing all of them call it at the same time and pause counting.
Right.
And then just so it's, I guess the better way to word it is this. I don't know if he'll be president. I don't know if he'll be able to prove the fraud. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at.
How is he going to prove it now at 3 weeks?
That's what I mean. That's what I'm realizing as I say this. I think my gut feeling is more of, I think he legitimately won. Do I think he'll be able to prove it? I don't know. Exactly. Exactly. It's no longer an issue of whether or not there was fraud. Can you prove it? Will he? I don't know. I think that's a coin toss. It's and
might makes right, man. The media is on Biden's side. Academia is, social media, everything's on his side. I mean, it doesn't matter if there was voter impropriety. It doesn't matter. Might makes right. Biden's going to be president.
Exactly. It doesn't matter what should happen. There's a thing of what will happen, and that's, you know, talk about red pills is, yeah, I completely see that, and I do I kind of believe that. Maybe, yeah, I think it's the probably romantic, idyllic, deluded mind that's like, I saw what was right, and it's like, well, hey man, if you can get away with steroids and break the home run record and they can't prove it, it doesn't matter that you shot up steroids. You got away with it. You got the fucking, you know, you have the record. It doesn't matter if you beat Hank Aaron, right? I think that's probably where I'm looking at. And as I get older, I'll look back at this and I'll be like, you doe-eyed little bitch. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it does not matter. It matters who pulls it off, right? The universe is amoral. It doesn't give a fuck. It's like, cut the throats, and whoever... The CIA definitely killed fucking JFK. It doesn't matter how wrong it was. It doesn't matter if Jackie got her face sprayed with brain matter. The reality is they pulled it off. We went to Vietnam. 50,000 Americans died, and the military-industrial complex made a slaughtering. I think that's what I'm getting at, is I think this happened. No, I don't know the path. I don't see the path. That's the differentiation I guess I should make. It's the only haha I'll get is in like 80 years when, you know, just like as they declassify JFK shit, I'll be like, ha, I was right about 9/11, or ha, I was right about the 2020 election. Is it going to have a real effect in my life? Probably not.
Well, I mean, this goes back to what is your view of history? So if we believe in esoteric history, if we believe that the ruling elite of the world, or whatever,
they always have.
You can call them the globalists, the luminists, whatever you want to call them. If they already kind of determine who's going to be president of all these countries, or prime minister of all these countries decades before, I mean, does it really matter if Biden or Trump's going to be president? I mean, look, we can talk about QAnon and stuff like that, but there are people who believe Trump is the savior of America, and he was just, you know, not allowed to clean up America. The way I look at it, man, if you look at Trump's history, man, the dude is a debauched, irreligious man going back to the 80s. If you look in the 80s, he was a Democrat.
Yeah.
He is a narcissist and an opportunist.
Yes.
Now, granted, we don't have a problem with it because we'd rather have somebody from the right in the presidency than the left. But if you step back, Trump is a vainglorious narcissist.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
he's totally a narcissist.
Thrice married, owns a beauty pageant or a Miss Universe. Every building he has, big gold letters say Trump. Oh, he is. I mean, he is like a biblical Antichrist. Like, I mean, vain. But
he's better than Hillary, right?
Right.
That's the way we look at it. This is how, like, the evangelical right. Like, I'm a traditional Catholic, so this is how, like, the Christians look at it. It's like, yeah, we know he's done this, but he's better than the Democrats because, you know, I think the Democrats are emboldened by the devil. I believe in spiritual warfare, and I believe.
So do I.
You know,
100%. Dude, I went to Catholic school for 12 years.
The left is really impelled by the occult and deep dark forces. That's not to say that the Republican Party isn't corrupt as well. And this is why, look, going back to your voting history. I first voted in 1992, and I never voted Republican. Now, when I was in college, I was part of the Socialist Workers Party. So going back to this kind of evolution. I think there's this line that's attributed to Mark Twain. It said, "Those who are young and not liberal are heartless, and those who are old and not conservative are brainless." Yeah. That you see this kind of evolution because when we're young, we're like, why can't the world be like we go into a mall and we just pick out the clothes we want and we can just walk out? Why do we need currency? Why can't we just have people buy and get houses for free? You know, and then when you get older, you're paying taxes and you're like, what? The progressive income tax? So the harder I work, the more I'm taxed? Yeah. Which is one of the planks of the Communist Manifesto, right? Marx wanted a progressive income tax because it's income redistribution. So when you get older, you start realizing, no, this is stupid. I don't. So we tend to go conservative, at least economically conservative. Probably not nowadays social conservative unless you're religious. But yeah, so I'm a libertarian. I've never voted for Republican, even though I'd rather have a Republican in office than certainly a Democrat, because I don't believe in big government. I believe in strict interpretation of the Constitution. If the Constitution says the federal government can do it, that's all they should be doing. If you look at the presidency under Republicans, it's grown. It grows no matter who is president.
Oh, yeah, no. Like, make a very important distinction. I am as anti-Republican as I am anti-Democrat. They're just as... One of them is like the big tit of the government's going to milk, the welfare class, and the other is the big tit of the government's going to milk the military-industrial complex class. They're both people just juicing off the government.
The analogy I like to use is like WWF wrestling when I was a kid. So you had Hulk Hogan and you had the Sheik, right? So when you're a kid, you go and you watch it, and you're like, "Go Hulk! You beat the Sheik!" And then the people like the Sheik because you beat Hulk. And then you buy into this binary view of politics, right? One side's good, one side's bad. And what you don't realize is these dudes, after they wrestle, go have a drink afterwards, and they're all friends.
Yeah.
The ruling elite have more in common with themselves than they do with us, the hoi polloi. They have utter disdain for us, typical Americans.
Yeah.
But we get so bought in, the left and the right, by these politicians who speak and parrot what they think the constituency wants to hear. So on the Republican side, it's, we're going to do smaller government. Yeah. We're going to get rid of Obamacare. We're going to get rid of abortion. But they know none of these things are going to happen. They know that, but they got to speak the right things. So we're like, yeah, this is why we love you, whoever you're, Mitch McConnell, or, whoever you're, Rand Paul, whoever you are. And then the left says the same thing.
Yeah.
It keeps us in this binary trap.
Yeah.
Where I just see they're all corrupt. People who go into government are all sociopaths who want power. That's who is attracted to government. Government is innately evil. You can go back to Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan. You can go back to political theory. There's these people who believe government is bad. The founding fathers clearly thought government was bad. This is why they dispersed government amongst the states and then really the people. Ninth and 10th Amendment is whatever powers are not enumerated here and for the federal government of the states is given to who? The individual. So they believe that power corrupted. They believe that we should disperse power. So if you look today, the Republicans and the Democrats, we have a gigantic bloated government that has way too much say in every aspect of our life. If you look in 1910, the biggest encounter that the typical American had with the federal government was the post office. They would go get their mail. That's it. But with World War I, the Depression, World War II, could talk about problem, action, solution. Now the federal government is everywhere. Federal government is spying on us right now, along with big tech and so forth. Yeah.
No, I'm with you. It's what George Carlin said. I think they keep the left and the right fighting each other, and the left fights the right fights the left. Both the left and the right fight the poor. Meanwhile, the rich run away with all the fucking money. That's what it is, man. And it's. One thing I've been thinking of more and more, and it's because Alex Jones originally said, I think on his second podcast with Rogan, and it's been like a splinter in my mind ever since. He was like, think about it. Think about it, Rogan. Yeah, I'm just saying I've got sources. He's like, the left, I can't keep doing it. The left, the liberals are traditionally for free speech, right? Say anything. Well, how do you get that? How do you get that group of people to be against free speech? You put in a Trump. And you get them to start erode the thing that they fight for. Whereas the far, the right, what's the right now saying? Insurrection Act, martial law, shut it down. Well, now you have the right gun toters calling for the thing that they've always been against. So what might be the biggest red pill or even a black pill is, dude, Trump might have just been truly the deep state's trump card. It's all an act.
Okay, so let's talk about Alex Jones. So I haven't listened to Jones in like 15 years, but I used to listen to him because I used to live in Austin.
Oh, nice.
And I remember Jones used to be on Austin Public Radio. I remember when he was a nobody, but he would have his little show on Austin Public Radio back when they had Austin Public Television, back when they let people have their own little television shows. And I listened to him probably till about 2005. And so his view was both parties were corrupt. I mean, a lot of his classic videos are against Bush, right? And then he had those that are against Clinton. But then when Trump comes around, he buys into Trump. He supports 100%. Trump. Before that, every president is corrupt. Yeah. He kind of totes what we had just talked about. You can't trust anybody. Then Trump comes in. He has Trump on his show. Trump's going to save us. Trump. But hey, brother, didn't you just say that everybody's corrupt who runs for office? And so when he unilaterally supported one politician who we know is, an opportunist. Yeah. And I was like, Jones, I don't know what you're talking about. But going back to Jones, back in the early 2000s, he talked about black box voting. He talked about electronic voting can be rigged and manipulated. So the belief is if the powers that be really wanted Trump to not be president, they could have rigged it because all the voting could be rigged through electronic voting. That's why they wanted electronic voting.
Yeah.
So I don't really believe in this idea that he somehow got elected without the Bilderberger and the Grove and all these people wanting it to happen. I think they wanted it to happen. Yeah. It's part of their grand plan that they etch out 50 years ahead that we don't know.
Yeah.
That's one of my issues with QAnon is they think that Trump is this crusader. I don't think he's a crusader at all. He speaks what I like to hear from a president more than the president from the Democratic Party would say that I like to hear. But I think he's still in the same quagmire morass. I mean, look, it's the ruling elite. Who's in the ruling elite? Politicians, but also who? Big business, big industry. Trump is big business, big industry.
Yeah, and I'm because one thing I keep thinking about is if they really didn't want him and he somehow got in, they would have killed him. They 100% would have killed him. It would have been if he really was this threat if he really was this QAnon crusader that was going to bring down the system of satanic pedophiles, then they wouldn't have left anything off the table. They would have tried to make it look like an accident. They would have tried to make it look like some Lee Harvey thing. But if worse came to worse and it really was all going to shit, they just would have done an overt nuke. They just would have nuked DC, or they would have, hit Air Force One with a directed energy weapon. They would have, or they would have done COVID, but wouldn't it be COVID? It'd be Ebola, and they would have just gassed it, used it as a cover to eventually get to Trump. I'm with you on that. If they really wanted to, he wouldn't. If they really truly wanted to, they wouldn't be there. Or maybe there is a little silver lining. Let's take a hit of hopium. Maybe they aren't as strong as we think, and they've been masquerading this because, was it Gorbachev in the Chernobyl series? Our power comes from the perception of our power. Mm-hmm. Maybe they aren't this. Maybe at Bilderberg groups they legitimately are. They're like, fuck, how did he get in? And they're like, okay, but got to keep the straight face, got to keep we have everything under control. Maybe. I mean, if you really were scared of your power, you wouldn't show any crack in the facade, right? You would make them think. It's kind of like South Park, where he's like, George Bush leaves the blueprints for 9/11. And he's like, you guys did 9/11? He's like, no. And he's like, well, why do you want everyone to think? He goes, because everyone will think we're really powerful if they think we did 9/11.
Well, look, every president since Coolidge has been to the Bilderberg Group.
Yeah.
And all leading industry people from big tech, big business have been there. So, again, if they could have ended it with him in the primaries. They could have rigged the polling because, the media and newspapers are all controlled by the same group. Go to Operation Mockingbird back in the 40s and 50s when the CIA infiltrated the media. So, I mean, I still don't believe it. I think Trump's part of it. They just wanted 4 years. Again, it's like the Hegelian dialectic, right? It's thesis, antithesis, synthesis. So let the right have their guy, because in the long run, we are more divisive, more fomentive than we were in 2016. Look at 2020. Now we have BLM. Now we have Antifa. Now we have rioting. Now we have cancel culture. We didn't have this nearly as much in 2016, certainly the rioting. So maybe it's just part of the Hegelian dialectic where they let Trump in and he's going to do his term to get us more on the precipice of civil war than we were in 2016.
Yeah. And
now Trump's going to go start his news network and, whatever he's going to do, he's going to be in the limelight.
He's fine.
Deep down, that's all Trump really wants is to be in the limelight.
Yeah.
He is a narcissist. So if he creates his news network because he's mad at Fox, if you want to believe that, whatever, it's going to give him a platform to still talk about how the election was stolen and rigged.
COVID.
It's going to keep the right all angry, which is what they want. They want to mobilize and angry. And maybe in 4 years he'll run again, or his son will run, or who knows. But I just think it's all a path to just get us closer to civil war and destroy the country. Because I mean, if you look morally, I mean, we're debauched. We can connect this. Going to talk about Mgtow and the thoughterry and what's happened to women in dating and marriage. But I mean, America, if you look.
I made this. I put it on a sweatshirt. I was gonna say I meant to show you beforehand. I was like, I'm definitely gonna send you, if you'd like. I'm definitely gonna send you one because I think you rock this. Yeah.
But if you look like in the 1960s and compare us to America now, I mean, look at the amount of there's very little virtue. There are stronger families back then. Of course, it's before the welfare state really kicked into high gear and destroyed marriage. And postmodernist thinking, we're still a Christian society. We didn't have as much radical feminism back in the 50s and 60s. But you compare 60s to now. I mean, on every level, we are a moral wasteland.
Yeah.
There's that old saying is like, Otto Spengler was this historian, and he said a society is waxing or is in ascent when the lower classes emulate the higher classes. And a society is in decline when the upper classes start to emulate the lower societies. And so you look like in 1910, right? The working class, they liked opera. They would still dress up in their best suit to church, whatever their suit was, it cost like 5 cents at Woolworth or whatever, but they would still try. And now look at us. Look at the way we dress. Look at the way we talk. Look at what we watch. Listen to the music. It's just a moral cesspool of all this moral relativism that you should do all these things. Like when virtue has become vice, and vice now is considered virtue, then society is in decline, and that's where we're at now. Yeah. Like if a woman says, you know what, I'm going to be a virgin till I get married, for hundreds of years, that's, of course you will, right? You're lauded. Now if a girl says that, you're lame, you're square, what's wrong with you?
Dude, I caught shit all the time, man. I gained weight after my brother died. Dude, in college, I had fucking 6-pack abs, doctor guy. I didn't sleep with a girl until I was 23 because I wanted to save it and everyone made fun of me. And even now, I don't mind talking about saying that terrorists did 9/11 or saying retard faggot. But even now, at 30, I kind of blush a little when I say that. I'm like, was it a religious thing? No. I legitimately just wanted to save it for the right girl. And I did till I was 23, dated her for 4 years. And hey, it was what it was. I got so much shit for that. Granted, guys are guys. Hey, man, just go get some pussy. I get it. But at the same time, it was like, no one gave a fuck that, like, I owned, like, a pistol. No one gave a fuck that I was, like, get blackout drunk and be like, let's go steal some mailboxes. Let's go fight some people. It's whatever. But then you'd say that, and it was like I just, like, carved a swastika in my forehead. It was like, what the... And then not only that, even girls would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'd be like, sorry, I just kind of think, I was like, it's, and I would always say, like, and I don't expect anyone else to do it. I was like, this isn't everyone should do this. I was like, this is just my personal, I'm very hard-headed. Want to get into med school? I'm going to get into med school. I want to make money doing a podcast? I'm going to do it. When I put my mind to something, I just do it. But that always struck me as, I caught more shit for that than anything I've ever done. And despite all the insane shit I say on this podcast, I'll talk about my brother's suicide every other episode. That's something I've never even said that on this podcast. Like, that's something that it's so, you're right. There is a moral decay that I can't even say that. Like, you can say, cut off your balls, give your kid hormone suppression. Yes, queen. But if I even just mention, I'm like, yeah, so, I saved myself for the right girl, and it was a beautiful thing in my own subjective experience. It was my own little, like, romance story. I get nervous saying that. I don't get nervous saying, hey, a bunch of fucking Jewish and Satanist elite orchestrated 9/11 and sacrificed children. I'll say that, just like, whatever, right? But now even this, I say that, and I'm like, fuck, is this guy going to laugh at me? What are my followers going to think? Like, is that stupid? Like, I know other people look at me weird, and I'm like, I have to always give some weird disclaimer. I'm like, it's not a religious thing. Like, but you're right. Like, that is the thing I am most hesitant to say, right? And it's...
Well, look at our prime influences of what we thought for millennia was really a religion and just good family, kind of an intact family. But now the primary influencers on us are Hollywood.
Yeah.
If you show a 4-year-old pictures of different Disney characters, they can identify like 35 different Disney Nickelodeon characters. they'll identify maybe 3 people from the Bible. I mean, this is the world we live in, is that we just push typical culture, TV, movies, and so forth on these kids. And what is the message being told on television? It's a postmodernist thinking, right? There's no absolute truths. It's all situational ethics. There's nothing wrong with sleeping around. Sex positive movement, girls, you do it. You ride the cock carousel as much as you want. It isn't going to hurt you, even though every study shows the more sexual partners a woman has, higher rate of depression, higher rate of infidelity, higher rate of severe psychological problems. But we can't tell that to the women. See, over at Red Pill Men's Health, they say, oh, you're anti-woman. No, we're anti-court system, and we actually love women. We're deep down a trad-con channel, traditional conservative channel, because we tell women, don't fall for the lies of radical feminism. You're going to end up miserable with no children and no man in your 40s entering your invisible years where no man's going to look at you.
Yeah.
Don't fall for the lies that mainstream culture tells you. Be virtuous.
Yeah.
Marry young, treat your husband with respect, let him be the leader, as it says in 1 Corinthians, right? Let the man be the head. And we want women to have a good life. But if you look at the prime influencers growing up, these kids watch Friends, How I Met Your Mother, all these shows, whatever show it is. They're all sleeping with each other. You watch Judd Apatow movies, we've all seen 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up. Well, it's the same thing, right? Just dissolute lifestyle, pot smoking, do drugs. And all these things are not good for you, okay? Now, you can call me old man boomer, but I'm not going to say that it's good to do drugs. It's good to get drunk, and it's good to bang as many people as you want. This is why society is in decay.
Yeah.
See, a lot of guys on my channel, they'll be like, oh, Gregory, a Mgtow monk, don't do that. It should all be pump and dumps and short terms and Tinder hookups. Yeah, I mean, it's great. You can bust a nut in a girl, but have you thought about that girl is some guy's daughter?
Yeah.
Right. And if we're pumping and dumping enough women, it doesn't help society. It's not helping the world that we live in. So really, wouldn't it be better to go to some retro world like Leave It to Beaver in the 1950s, where we all treat each other with respect, there were chaperones, nobody had sex until marriage, all these things. But again, that's like old boomer me. Oh, Gregory, come on, men should just be banging everybody. Look, my big thing is don't ever marry. Okay, that's always my message on my YouTube channel, on my podcast, is don't get married. But I would even go further back and be like, don't live a debauched life, because A, it leads to mortal sin. Christ is clear on this. St. Paul is clear on the epistles. Fornication is a grievous mortal sin that will endanger your salvation. But also, it's bad for society. It's bad for everybody. But a lot of people who are not religious anymore, because we are in a post-Christian world, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. Oh, Gregor, I just need to pump and dump everybody. All right, look, all right. Pump and dump everybody. But let's look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. You're not helping society. You're not helping those women, but they don't care.
Yeah. I'm with you 100%, man. I lived in a frat house for a year, my sophomore year of college, man. And it's the amount of, again, just same thing. Why aren't you sleeping around? Why aren't you? And I was like, something, it's just like, but that's what we do. And I was just like, I don't get my marching orders from, like, hence why I'm 30 years old, not married, and I turned down a medical school acceptance to start a podcast. Now here I am at 9:30 in the morning talking about 9/11 with a thought thickened shirt on. Like, it pays to do what you believe in and to follow your heart, dude. I mean, it's my friends were sleeping around, dude. I was writing love letters to a girl I didn't know existed, because I was like, I just believe in, like, something deeper. And I don't think anyone else, if that's, above all else, I think we should all do what makes us happy. And as long as you don't harm anyone else. So, like, I don't even think anyone should do it if that's not where your heart is. But, like, God damn, if it's not, like, we are slowly getting to where it's like Ed Snowden said, it's like when it becomes a crime to expose truth, you're run by a criminal society. It's one thing if, like, you can just agree to disagree, but, like, if it is now, like, unvirtuous and uncool to just do something that you believe is virtuous or moral, we're kind of fucked. if there's
they want you to live a debauched lifestyle. This is one of the platforms going to the radical left. They want to destroy the family. If you look at the platform going back to the French Revolution, certainly in early Soviet Union, I mean, there's writings.
Destroy the nuclear family.
Destroy the family. Right. So you can worship the state. The state will take care of you. Of course, destroy Christianity. This is one of the running platform of the occult left since Adam Weishaupt. So they want to destroy private property, destroy Christianity, destroy the family, all these things like this. And so when we're just pumping and dumping and all these things, and that leads to that, because how do you expect a woman to maintain a happy marriage when we no longer really live in a Christian world? Because the Christian milieu would tell you back in the day, divorce was wrong. It was a stigma. It was very hard to get. If you're going back several hundreds of years, the Catholic Church didn't allow divorces. So it was very hard to get it. But now with no-fault divorce rolling in 1970, now you don't need a reason to divorce. So like I have an episode over at Repo Men's Health where we juxtaposed 1960 divorce with 2020 divorce. In 1960, it was typically the man divorcing the woman because he wanted the younger wife. Like if you watch Mad Men, Don Draper does this. And what was like the token prize that the first wife would get? She would get alimony because back then the woman didn't work, and she would get child support, and she would get the kids. So it's like, I'm exchanging you for a younger woman, but you're going to get security, stability, the children. So back then, men initiated divorce. Now, if you look at the stats today, and really the peak of divorce was in 1980. 75% of divorces are initiated by women. And when you look at college educated, it's 90%. So if you marry a college educated woman and a divorce occurs, 90% of the time it's initiated by her. So now it's swung the other way. Women are initiating divorce for a variety of reasons, but one of them, there's a financial incentive because now they'll take half your assets, even though you might have had a business and she had nothing to do with it, right? You create your own business, or you're a doctor, you're an orthopedic surgeon, makes $500K. She stays home, or she's a teacher, makes $500K or $50K. Doesn't matter. They just get $550K divided in half. She gets $275,000. So she gets half of all your assets plus alimony, which is ridiculous. I mean, not all states have it, but alimony is like akin to I work for a job, they fire me, but I expect them to pay me every month until I die.
Yeah.
Alimony is a complete joke.
Yeah.
And then they get child support. And of course, there's nothing that shows how they spend it. They can spend child support money on Chad and Tyrone and get all the clothes for the kids at Goodwill and spend on manis and petties and a new car. And that's totally fine.
Yeah.
So this is what's happened with marriage is women realize that there's a financial incentive for them to divorce. And so now in the 2020 divorce, the man gets nothing. He doesn't get, like in the 1960 paradigm, he doesn't get financial security like the woman did. He doesn't get the kids like the women do. Women get the kids 85% of the time now in 2020 America in a divorce. He doesn't get anything. He gets fleeced. This is why we call it divorce raped. He gets all of his assets taken. He loses his kids from seeing them every day to 4 nights a month. And now he's paying a woman for 18 years at least, if not longer, with alimony for taking his kids away. And with no fault divorce too, she could be banging 20 dudes and initiate divorce and still get all the aforementioned. How is this right? Marriage is a complete racket. It's an extortion and no man should do it. Oh, but Gregory, I believe in true love. I mean, come on. This is the Disney propaganda that we've all been exposed to. True love doesn't exist. If true love existed, would we not all still be in love with the first person that we were in love with? We'd be in love with that 20-year-old when we were 20 or whatever, but we're not. And certainly women aren't. Berfeau's law, right? They move on because their love's based on utility and usefulness. But I'm not in love with my girlfriend that I had when I was 18. So if true love existed, we would still be in love with that person. Now, maybe we wouldn't be with them because they were abusive or whatever, but we'd still be in love with them, but we're not. That's how you know true romantic love doesn't exist. And certainly true unconditional love is nonsense. If your woman gains 600 pounds, you're not going to be in love with her. And just like the same thing with Berfeau's law. If you decide, Thomas, let's say you live in a mansion or whatever, you know what, sweetheart, we're just going to go live on the streets under the overpass bridge for 5 years. You think she's going to stay with you? No. Unconditional love is nonsense. Both sexes are shallow. Women are wired for hypergamy. They want security. They want to be with the highest status man they can be. Men want to be with the youngest, hottest, most fertile woman that they can be with. Both sexes are shallow. But the court system is there to support the woman and to destroy the man, either through divorce or you're one phone call away. Let's go back to your girlfriend that you had back in the 20s. Nothing stops her or any thought that you banged from calling the cops the next morning and be like, yeah, he raped me.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? It was consensual. No, it wasn't. And look, if you're drinking, there's no consent with alcohol or drugs. But let's say you're both sober. What stops her the next morning if she wants to get back at you because she thought you were going to start a relationship and you just saw it as a pump and dump? Calls a cop. Boop, boop, boop. He raped me. His semen's in me. Now it's your word against her word. Who's the court going to believe unless she has a history of false allegation? They're going to believe the damsel in distress, right? It's always the girl can do no wrong. The man is mean and patriarchal. And this is why I believe in Mgtow monk is the most prudent way to live your life, is because even if you're doing short-term relationships, you're still exposed to, and look, don't get me wrong, you're less exposed than if you were married.
Sure.
Because marriage is much more risky, but you're still exposed to STDs, pregnancies, cluster B personality disorders like stalkers, and the one phone call away.
Yeah.
So, I went off on a tangent.
No, that was beautiful.
That's essentially why men going their own way exists. So, if your listeners are not familiar with it, it's just a kind of a belief that because of the aforementioned reasons, and it's really foolish for men to marry because men are the catch. Men are the catch. We have this whole idea that we got to get on the knee and give the ring to the woman and always pay for her. Yeah. No, we age like fine wine. We're the catch. We make all the money. The woman's going to become old and fat, and you're dealing with her addictions and her nagging and all these things. No, there needs to be a return to the mindset that we had more in the 1950s, that men are the catch. Women need to court us. Women need to woo us. But no, I mean, it's been 3 decades of men are simpering, obsequious beta simps who worship the female for the golden pea. And so when you ask men, like, why are you going to get married? Oh, because I want sex. What, don't you not know the sex positive movement has allowed most women to put out on the first or second date? So why are you going to get married? It's the same thing like moving in with a woman. I've never understood men who cohabit. So you're getting sex from the woman, but you still have your freedom, right? You live in your own place.
Sure.
So why are you going to let a woman move into your place, or you're going to move in with her and give up your freedom to get something that you're already getting, which is sex?
Sure.
And you're going to get less sex of it because of the whole competition anxiety.
Yeah. If
a woman thinks that you're getting sex from different women and that you're plate spinning, she's more likely to give you a lot more sex. Once a woman realizes, and you see this, why men always lament it in marriage, how they're not getting as much sex, is because women look at sex more as a tool. It's not that they don't like it, but they see it as a tool to keep the man dick napped. And so if they think, okay, well, Thomas's only recourse for sex now that we're living together and married, is me, then they don't need to have sex as much. And so cohabiting is just idiotic. You live a bachelor life. Why are you going to give that up to get what you're already getting, which is sex? If you're already dating her, you're probably already getting sex. So why are you going to give up everything for that? And then why are you going to get married, where now at any time, marrying today is like giving a woman a loaded gun on the wedding night and just be like, honey, you can use this anytime in the next 40 years to destroy me. Oh, Gregory, that's so black pill and cynical. But it's true, man, at any time, because women are capricious, women are emotional, they're reactive, you can't make a woman happy, and all these things we talk about. So at any time, whenever she becomes unhappy or she wants some monkey branch or whatever, you work too much or you work too little or whatever it is in her head, she'll be like, yeah, I'm divorcing you, and then the divorce rape happens.
Fuck.
So why marry, man? The only reason men married was to have sex. And you can get sex because of the sex positive movement at any time. So I don't get it. Now, if you want to have kids, that's a separate discussion.
Sure. That was, I mean, no, man, it dawned on me a couple of years ago where it was kind of like, it's kind of like the Joker, right? Madness is like gravity. All it takes is a little push. I found that with like, the red pill was like, all it takes is the first one for me was like, I don't want to sleep around. And the next one was like, I want to study all the time. I want to be I went to UGA. I went to the #1 party school in the nation. I went to one football game because I was like, I want to study. I want to be a 4.0 student. And then it was like I said,
nerd.
Yeah, right. Nerd. And then it's like fucking, yeah. And then I right here, I keep my med school acceptances just to remind myself. I'm like, hey, fuck them. But like, one thing, and then obviously everything I mentioned, now it's here. It's like, okay, now I'm making enough. Finally, you know, God bless my parents, but like now I'm finally going to be moving out this summer after 4 years of, I moved home. I was suicidal in 2016, 2 years after I lost my brother to suicide. And now it's like, but it's all it takes is a little push. And as it kept going, and now I'm like, now I make money. I don't have to worry about YouTube. I can just say whatever the fuck I want. Faggot, retard. It doesn't matter.
Okay, but really fast. So talking about your independent income coming in, do you have some sort of guarantee or some contract with this George Soros of the right that he's going to continue paying you for an indefinite amount of time? Or is it just kind of like handshake kind of thing?
No, full LLC signed payment.
As long as he's alive, you're going to be getting some salary from this guy.
No, even after. It's there's a set amount that's guaranteed for X years. It's
man,
already.
This is like Great Expectations, man. You just found this mysterious benefactor who's like, I'm just gonna bankroll your free speech.
Trust me, there's still a part of me that's scared of waking up because it's like, but it's real. I'm getting deposits. I know the individual,
and he just did this. Why? Like, why did he pick you? It's like Neo in the Matrix. Why you?
Exactly. No, part of it's like, am I going to be like inducted into this cathedral where they're like, eat the child? And I'm going to be like, fuck this. I knew it. Damn it.
But how'd you meet him? Is this a guy connected to your past? Is he just found like one of your early YouTube channels or podcasts? Is like, I like your message. I'm going to bankroll you.
So I got permabanned from Reddit. I've been there for 12 years. I got fucking permabanned. I guess I had a lot of accounts, but one of them I would always go just, you know, kind of guerrilla, just like making this podcast on my own. I would just post it in random places under different accounts. And one of them I posted with the Delta Force guy, and I also had on this former intelligence analyst that the Delta Force guys knew from the CIA, who had this whole like prepping company. It was like you can get, you know, not prep, it was what word am I looking for? Like forecasting social like unrest, civil unrest. Point is, I had this podcast with these two like hardened Delta veterans, and then this guy, younger guy, that did work with them. And the whole thing about is like what was well, I just posted it to, I would, whatever episode I like right now, if I still had read it, I would post it to like Mgtow, right? Or Mgtow. That one I just posted to like a couple relevant forums. Dude found it there. Dude is, I can't go into because of privacy, but someone that my family has known, I just didn't know they knew. So it's someone that like, you know, they can sign off on, they know, you know. I'm tiptoeing around because the stipulation is I can't disclose who it is. So,
but he just likes your message. He likes what you say.
Loves it.
You're like a voice crying out in the wilderness, like John the Baptist, and he just wants you to continue.
Literally saw it, saw the name, and was like, oh. Heard where I was talking about where I live, and was like, oh shit, is this so and so? Dude's just got dough, and talking, and we didn't even start on that. He was just like, oh, like, I've been watching your podcast. I didn't know that you were so and so. And I was like, oh, yeah. And we were talking, and he was like, man, like, your thing's going. He was like, why are you, you know, working at a liquor store? And I was like, well, because I got to make money, man. I'm 30 years old. And I was like, you know, I got to find something. And he was like, is the channel growing? Well, I'm kind of OCD, not kind of clinical OCD. And I was like, yeah, here's this Excel sheet of every day I track, you know, subscribers, impressions, view time, whatever. Here's the growth rate. This guy's business oriented. Look at it, was like, your like growth rate is insane. Like, have you thought of like pitching this to investors? And I was like, a matter of fact, glad you asked, because blah 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 blah. And I haven't. It's like episode 150 or 155, where it's like literally the episode is like investor pitch. I sent it to him, and I was like, dude, I'm not asking for a lot. I need enough to just get my own apartment, food, rent, gym. And he was like, fuck yeah, I like it. He was like, it's a gamble. He's like, I don't know if it will work, you know, and if 3 years and it's not working, that's on, you know, it's on you. But he was like, fuck it, I'll roll the dice.
Okay, so there is a provision that after 3 years, if you're not growing, that he'll revoke the money, or?
Yeah, and that's what it was from initially. It's like, do you have 3 years to turn this profitable? And I was like,
oh, okay, because I thought you had mentioned that this is something that could go on for decades.
No. When you said if he dies, I'm like, well, if he dies in the next year, no, I still get the full 3 years. That's what it is. And I have 3 years to hey, and I got to put some aside in my own investments, and if this doesn't work, I got to have my contingency plan. But explaining it to people is weird because it is so ridiculous that it worked. It really is. It's the Lee Harvey Oswald of shots, man.
It's like the old movies and novels where the mysterious benefactor appears and just gives you this gift, and you're like, what? Exactly. And it's not like it's indefinite, right? You got 3 years to give them something, but it's 3 years where you can speak what you want and do what you want.
Go hard.
So on YouTube, because I didn't know you had a podcast. I thought you were on YouTube. So podcasts, like I have a podcast called The Awakened Man. It's for Mgtow, Red Pill stuff. And on Apple, you can cuss and there's not as much censorship. But YouTube, have you tried to monetize all these episodes? Because I'm assuming, given your content, you're probably not getting any of these monetized.
No. So you can apply for monetization when you hit 1,000 subscribers. I hit 1,000 in like early October. It takes about a week for them to review it. Some say a month. Here we are in 3 months, no word back. I know what the answer is. The answer is no, you white supremacist fuck. I mean, come on, white, blue eyes, American flag, talking about saving yourself for the right woman. To them, I am a Nazi.
Well, look, no doubt, YouTube is run by like all of social media by the radical left, and you're right. Anything that even is smacks of anything conservative is likely going to get demonetized or deplatformed. Now, in the Mgtow world, there have been certain personalities. Almost all the personalities that are really large have all at one point been demonetized, if not deplatformed completely. So my concern for you, Thomas, is I'm sure YouTube gives you visibility. You're not making money off of it because you're not monetized, but people will find this. If you continue with the profanity and I don't know all the topics you talk about, they might just deplatform you, because I know dudes in the Mgtow world
it's coming
who don't say much and they were deplatformed. And look, I tend to see my channel as more of a tradcon channel, but I am telling men not to marry. And one of the live streams I did when Biden was chosen was trends of 2021, and one of the things I talked about is that there's going to be another wave of deplatforming, because not just like in Mgtow world, but if you look at there's a lot of Stefan Molyneux, he's a right-wing philosopher. He was completely deplatformed off YouTube, million subscribers. And there's other people, Turd Flaking Monkey, TFM, he's a big guy in the Mgtow world, completely deplatformed. So I worry that you'll just be completely deplatformed, then you'll have to go to BitChute or wherever.
I'm already on BitChute and Rumble. Apple won't put me on theirs, but I have it on Anchor and Overcast and Spotify. It's, it's kind of like when I started this, and it was like, how are you going to do this? And I was like, I got a friend, and I was like, just come on. I saw the first 10 episodes were just friends. I was like, now that I have 10 episodes, now I can go to people that are, I found like a guy that worked as a rocket engineer, and I was like, look, I have 10 episodes. And then I got him, and then it was like, look, I had on a rocket engineer. And it kind of kept moving and moving to where, to answer your question, this entire thing has just been fuck it, do it live. I've had on Rob Manning, the chief engineer of NASA JPL. He's in charge of all the rovers that we send to Mars. I've had on Mike Duran, episode 95, the pilot from Black Hawk Down, the real life pilot. I've had on Charlie Duke, the 10th man to walk on the moon, episode 216. I've had on, who's his face? Fuck, I just drew a blank. God damn it. Eben Alexander, author of Proof of Heaven, the neuroscientist who went into a coma in the early 2010s.
So your goal is just to kind of have a wide range amount of topics, like Rogan kind of does, just bring on anybody.
And these are all people that I'm interested. I don't have anyone on that I don't want to have on. Helen Patton, granddaughter of George Patton. Juanita Broderick, raped by Bill Clinton.
Wow, you got Juanita Broderick?
Yeah.
You just reached out to her like, hey, let's do an interview? And she was cool?
You just got to go in it bold. One of the guys I talk to a lot, Don the Pleb, who has a channel, who's been on here several times, he goes, you're in my phone as long reach. And he goes, because you have a long reach. And he goes, you got a guy from them that walked on the moon before you had 1,000 subscribers. And I was like, fucking right. But it's just, I take that sort of pre-med psychopath mentality of just work. Episode 160, Brigadier General Robert Spalding, who was in Obama's National Security Council. He flew B-2 stealth fighters, the most expensive, or stealth bombers, the most expensive plane to ever be created. He wrote the book Stealth War. He works at the Hudson Institute. I mean,
let's go back to Patton really fast. So did Patton's granddaughter think that Patton was murdered?
She kind of alluded to that. It was 3 episodes ago. She kind of alluded to it, but then she's like, I don't want to kind of beat a dead horse. And I was like, okay, sure. But she kind of alluded to it, and I was like, fuck yeah, he was absolutely.
Because he was totally anti-communist, and he was one the pushing that they should go.
We fought the wrong enemy. We should team up with the Nazis and go kill the USSR. And everyone's, that's so evil. No one talks about how 2 years later Operation Paperclip began, and we ultimately brought over 33,000 Nazis to do what? Right. To fight the Soviets. We literally took the Nazis to fight the Soviets. Patton was just 2 years ahead of them. I'm not excusing what the Nazis did. Well, I'm just saying
the argument behind Paperclip is, look, the Soviets are rolling into Germany.
If we didn't get them, they would.
Right. That's kind of when you tell people about Paperclip, we brought in Nazis into South America. The Vatican helped this as well. That's kind of the story we tell, so to kind of whitewash it, right? Yeah. The Soviets would use them, and then the Cold War, and then blah blah blah. So we need to take them and protect them. I don't know. Going back to like Skull and Bones and all these connections with the occult. If you look like
Prescott Bush.
Yeah. If you look at Nazism, it was a cult religion. This is one of the attacks that the left will always say. Nazism was a Christian ideology. What do you talk about? Hitler wasn't a Christian. They were all deep into the occult.
Yeah,
deep into the occult. But yeah. So what about the moon guy? So he thinks we've been to the moon. Do you think we've been to the moon? What was his take on that? Did you even bring it up with him?
No, I didn't want to, because it was more of like a respect thing. He's 87, and he was like, sure. He was like, normally I don't do these, but he was like, sure. And we ended up talking about like Christianity and faith, and it was actually a beautiful episode. But I looked at some interviews of him, and he was like, they say we didn't go, and he goes, but if you zoom in, on the lunar reconnaissance orbiters now, they can go show you the different lunar landers. People say, okay, well, who put those there? And he goes, I did. Part of me was like, fuck yeah. So he was like, I did. So
maybe don't bring it up.
That's what my logic. I would love. Did we go? I don't know. Would have been. Same thing. It's like, we could have done it to bankrupt the Soviets. But I was like, I have this guy who's one of 4 living Apollo astronauts. I was like, I have him for a half hour. I'm not about to sit here and be like, are there aliens on the moon? Did we really go? I'm like, I'm just gonna show the guy some respect. It was kind of that thing.
No, that makes sense.
I can keep talking, but I realize I've already kept you on for an hour and 20. I just don't want to. I got nothing doing. I can keep talking. I just don't want to keep you forever.
Yeah, we can talk a little while longer. Let's talk about some Mgtow stuff, because I don't know if your audience if you've had any Mgtow guys or
I have not.
guys.
I have not, but it's about 90% male, so I'm figuring it's the right audience.
Well, okay. So in the Mgtow world, the general umbrella term is the manosphere. Mm-hmm. Okay, so under the manosphere, we have different branches. One is going to be MRAs, men's rights activists. Okay. These guys were bigger like 20 years ago. So these are the guys pushing against alimony. These are the guys who are wanting custody to be 50-50 with no child support, which is the fairest thing, and that's the best thing for the kids, right? Is let's have each parent have the kids for 15 days with no child support. Now, in a lot of states, they're like, no, okay, we'll give you 50-50. Like in Texas, the default is alternating weekends and you're paying child support. That is the default. If you want 50-50 with no child support, the mom's going to have to agree to it. The court isn't going to make that default. In some states, it is 50-50, but with child support. My problem with that is that they're just double dipping the man, because it's not surprising, because men, we're just disposable and we're just human ATM machines to women. But so I'm paying for all the expenses of the 14 days, 15 days I have my kids. Plus, I got to pay child support to a woman who has the kids 10 days less than the typical schedule. It makes no sense. So MRAs will fight that. Then you got kind of like the PUA branch, the pickup artist branch. So the pickup artist branch will kind of use red pill knowledge of women, negging the women, ignoring the women. What do women really want? Tap into all that to get laid, right? So the PUAs are more of just the pump and dump, let's lay waste to everybody. Sure. Then you got the Mgtow men going their own way, which is commonly pejoratively put down by the PUAs as the incels. So the incels are involuntary celibate. So these are guys who are losers who can't get laid. But Mgtow is all about, and I think everybody in the manosphere would agree, it's about optimizing you. So it's working on your physical health, your psychological health. So any like early childhood trauma, most of us have it, either abuse or neglect from parents, whatever it is. Purge your demons. If you're an alcoholic, if you're drinking too much, you're doing too many drugs, work on that, work on your financial health, become solvent, all these things. And you're going your own way. Okay, so that's what Mgtow. So Mgtow is more like, I'm never going to marry. Now, if you talk to the PUAs, most of these guys would say that they're never going to get married. So if you look at like the big kind of red pill channels like Entrepreneurs with Cars with Richard Cooper, he's got like, I don't know, like 300,000 subscribers. These guys all kind of, we all agree, don't cohabit, don't date or marry single moms because they have a history of making poor choices, and don't marry and so forth. So we all kind of agree there, but there's fighting, internecine fighting in the manosphere, because they'll say, Mgtow men, like men who just say, I'm not going to marry, I'm just going to work on myself, work on my finances, live a life, travel, do whatever the fuck I want. They'll say that that's kind of an incel approach, but it really isn't. It's all about, why am I going to sign the Faustian pact that is the marriage contract when chances are 50% chance of divorce? And then if you look at the other 50, maybe 25% of those guys are miserable. Like, how many of us know miserable married men? Right? Because Einstein has that saying. It's like, you marry a woman and you spend the rest of the marriage wondering what happened to that woman. And a woman marries a man and spends the rest of the marriage trying to change him into the man she wants him to be. Both are inevitably disappointed. Fuck. That's the Einstein quote about marriage. And it's true, right? You marry the 22-year-old when she's young and she's banging you and she's got this joie de vivre and she's spontaneous and fun. And then look at her when she's 50. Miserable, nagging, unattractive, and so forth. And then, of course, women love the bad boy fixer-upper and all these things like this. But marriage is not really a smart economic venture for men. And if you just look at 50% divorce rate, would we get on a plane that crashes 50% of the time? No, we wouldn't, right? I mean, but so going back to red pill. So red pill men are kind of the men who are woke to all this. Then you have the blue pill. The blue pill, it's all Matrix, right? Blue pill men are like, I still believe in love. My woman would never divorce me. Well, actually, look at the statistics. She probably will. But, I believe in all these things. And so that's what we always talk about, blue pill men, the way blue pill men treat women as opposed to the way red pill men treat women. A blue pill man with Valentine's coming up, the average man spends about $600 on Valentine's Day presents and gifts. And the average woman spends $60, right? Because this is the typical thing, right? Worship the woman to get the P, right? So the blue pill men will do all that. The red pill men are like, I'm not going to spend a damn dime on you, right? You need to worship me. If you're engaging with women, there's different levels of Mgtow. So level 1 Mgtow is you're still dating, short-term relationships, so you won't marry. And then level 2, level 3, level 4, you're living in the cabin in the woods with nobody around.
Yeah,
but
pure monk.
Yeah, you're pure monk. And this is like, you're not even working with women at work, because that's a separate story. There's a lot of guys who get false sexual harassment allegations levied against them at work. They didn't do anything wrong. It's just the women hate the man and they want to get him out of that job. But so you have the men who are blue pill mostly still worship the woman. So and so what we do is like, no, you are the catch. Look at Hollywood, right? Look at actors and actresses from the 90s. Actresses from the 90s. Cameron Diaz. Where is she now? She can't get roles. She retired. Salma Hayek, Ashley Judd, Heather Graham. All these actresses that were hotties in the 90s, they're gone. Let's look at the actors that were big in the 90s. Will Smith, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, Denzel. They're all around. Why? Because men age like fine wine. Why? Because our sexual market value is fundamentally different than women. The SMV of a woman is based only on her youth, beauty, and fertility, which starts to wane post 30 years old. A man's sexual market value is based more on his status, his security, money. This is why we see a lot of older men who are not that good looking with hot, beautiful women. Because women don't look at looks as the sole factor in choosing a man. I mean, looks isn't even like the third factor. They look at security, because of the kind of the Paleolithic wiring of women back in the day. They had to be protected from predators, from beta males. So they would pick the man who could provide, be the best hunter, give him the warmest cave and all of these things. So, like, you can take the woman out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of the girl. It's kind of the same thing. You can take women out of the Paleolithic world, but they still have the Paleolithic wiring. Women want security. Women want provisioning. And this is where the idea of hypergamy comes. Some men don't know what hypergamy is. So hypergamy is a woman's innate need to be with the highest status / richest man that she can get.
Sure.
And so in her lifestyle, we call it monkey branching as she's moving her way up to get the highest status man. Now, a lot of men who are blue pill will be like, it's wrong, she dumped me for the lawyer, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, brother, you can't hate hypergamy. That's just the way women are wired. And just like, you don't want the woman to get mad at you if you're dating the 45-year-old cow, but the 21-year-old hottie wants to bang you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The woman will shame you. You're a pig. But again, you're going with your wiring. Every man's wiring is to be with hot women in their early 20s. OkCupid tracks this. All these dating sites track it. So when you're on these dating sites, you put in the age range that you want to look at. So they have this graph that I show over at Red Pill Men's Health where no matter what age the man is, it's 23. That is the age he is always looking at. So you're 33, you're looking at 23. You're 53, you're looking at 23. Why? Because that's peak sexual market value. It's peak beauty, peak fertility, and so forth. So shaming a woman for monkey branching away from you because you don't make enough money is ridiculous. It's the same. It's tantamount to you not wanting to be with a hottie. Both sexes are shallow in their own way.
Yeah.
And for centuries, this is the way it worked. Older man, younger woman. I mean, you can see it all through the Middle Ages, antiquity. You can see it in Game of Thrones, wherever. Woman enters she gets her period back in like 18 years old, 19 years old, and she's married off to who? Not the 20-year-old squire. She's married off to the 35-year-old guy who's got the castle, who can provide her with security and money and so forth. So she gets security and money and status. He gets peak fertility for 20 years to have 15 kids or whatever. It worked. It worked for millennia. So it's really important just to understand sexual market value. So anyways, so you're young, right? You're not even reached your sexual market value. Your sexual market value isn't going to hit its peak till about 35 to 50. And so we tell men, of course, don't marry. But if you are going to marry, wait till your peak sexual market value because you're more likely to get a hottie. But so many men marry at 25 when they don't know themselves, and they're not even close to their SMV. The woman's sexual market value is declining at 27, 28, so she's desperate to marry anybody at this point. But the men don't know that their best years are still ahead because your SMV is based on status and money, and you typically have more money when you're 50 than when you're 25. But so many men don't know this. But you can see it in Hollywood time and again. Brad Pitt could go to any university, UGA, pick out the hottest woman, hottest girl.
Done.
You're going to be my girlfriend. Okay.
Done,
right? He's Brad Pitt. Now, some of it is he's good looking, but no, again, women will relinquish looks for other qualities, namely status. So it doesn't matter if he's 55. He's Brad Pitt. Look at Elon Musk. The dude is not attractive.
150 billion's attractive, though, right?
Exactly. So he was with crazy cluster B Amber Heard, wanted to destroy Johnny Depp and all these things. But you see all these examples of older established men, either in Hollywood or in industry, and they're not going to want to be with the 50-year-old post-wall invisible woman. And what I tell people on the channel is like, just Google beautiful woman into the search engine on Google. Is Meryl Streep going to pop up? Is a 55-year-old woman going to pop up? No. It's a 22, 23-year-old, 30-year-old hottie. Look at porn. Okay? People, you don't see porn stars who are 50 years old. You don't see 50-year-old women porn stars unless you're into that weird niche. How old are the porn stars? In their 20s. Fashion models in their 20s. So, because that's sexual market value of women. Women's peak SMVs in their 20s. The sex positive movement will tell these women, oh, you're beautiful. This is when you need to ride the cock carousel, bang as many men, da-da-da-da-da. And that's the worst thing for them to do. What they need to do, like if you have a good daughter, or you want your daughter to have a virtuous life, is have her marry a good man, a hardworking man, a confident masculine man who's like 10 years older, like 32, when she's 22. Because she is going to be at her peak of what men are really looking for. And the man always want to be with younger women. That's just the way we've been wired. And that works out. That kind of dynamic will work out better. But radical feminism tells them all just bang whoever you want. You can have a career and a family, but you can't. You really can't. So a lot of these women hit 40 and they're like, well, I don't have kids. I'm not married. And then they become disillusioned and bitter. And at that point, they're struggling to find a woman, struggling to find a man. And then they think like a 40-year-old rich man is going to want a 40-year-old woman. A 40-year-old rich man is going to want the 23-year-old hottie on OkCupid, right? So this is something that this is the phenomenon of like alpha widows and how rich women end up cat ladies because they fundamentally don't understand sexual market value. And they get mad. Like Sharon Stone came out, the actress, she's 62. She's like, I'm dating, but I stopped dating because men are emotionally immature. Well, that's really code for the 62-year-old men that she's trying to get who are rich and successful. She doesn't want to date the trash guy, right? The janitor. But the 62-year-old men don't want a 62-year-old woman whose vajayjay has been, run through more than the Lincoln Tunnel, right? They want the 20, 30-year-old. But people don't get this. Women don't get it. They have this disillusioned view of their sexual market value that men are going to want a 40-year-old single mom who has 3 kids from 3 different men. No. Blue pill simps will take that because they still pedestalize the woman and think the woman's the catch. Okay. Red pill men realize that the man is the catch, and they'll be like, hell no, I'm not going to take on a woman with that much baggage. If I marry, I'm going to find a woman who has no kids, who's younger, who's religious, virtuous, whatever, has good signs of being a wife. But even then, that woman can at any time, loaded gun again, divorce you and take all your assets. So again, marriage is not tenable.
Fuck. I mean, I decided a couple of years ago, as the like gravity just takes a little push. I was like, why stop with just like starting a podcast, or why stop with getting money for it? Like now I don't have to work with anyone. I can do whatever the fuck I want. It dawned on me that I was like, I don't think I'm going to get married. And this is before I even discovered you. I was like, I don't see. My logic is like, if you meet someone that's really like you really vibe with, that's fine. Vibe with them. Maybe you guys vibe for 50 years. There's no reason why there needs to be some legal or financial contract.
But the woman's going to push you to marry, though. Women don't believe in this kind of free love mindset because they know they have a ticking time bomb of fertility. They're not going to agree to that.
Which is why it takes a hard head like me that I actually do the thing I want. I think I'm just not going to do it.
Well, look, do you want to have kids?
No.
Are you sure? Are you saying that because you don't trust women, or you just don't want to sire children?
I have known that since I hit puberty. I literally remember having braces, and I was like, most people are like, you're just young. Dude, I remember being 11. I remember like 9/11 was like less than a year in the rearview mirror, and I was like, I don't think I want kids. It was in high school. I don't think I want kids. We'd be a doctor. I don't think I want kids. Doing a podcast. I don't think I want kids. The only time I could ever see me having kids is if I do the podcast and I get everything I've ever wanted, and I realize that there's, I'm not going to find fulfillment in a Bugatti and a mansion, and maybe I do want to settle down and have a family.
Okay, so let's talk about that then.
Sure.
So this is one of the Achilles heel of Mgtow is men who want to have children.
Sure.
And men love differently than women. Women's love is based on utility. What can you provide me? This we call it Bruffaut's law. Robert Bruffaut was a sociologist in the 19th century. He just talked about this. And women don't love the way men love. And so when a woman leaves a man and he's like, but I'm a good father, I paid for her med school and all her boob jobs, how can she monkey branch and leave me? It's because they don't understand Bruffaut's law. Bruffaut's law is a woman will be devoted and love you as long as there's not somebody of higher utility or usefulness in her life. Once there's somebody higher level, she will leave you for that guy and have absolutely no problem, right? Banging this dude a week later. And she's not going to think about your feelings because her love is different. Men love romantically. Men are the true romantics. We are. That's not to say we're not shallow, right?
Sure.
But we love fundamentally different than women. And that's one of the things that's so important for men to understand is that because we men are logical creatures, right? And so we're like, well, why, how could she do this? Why could she do this? Because they don't understand hypergamy and so forth. But either way, let's say you want to have kids, because I'm sure there's guys who are like, I agree, this is wrong. Intellectually, they think it's wrong to marry, but I want to have kids and family. Well, you got 3 options. So option 1 is you do get married and just take your chances. And look, any man who wants to get married, my advice to you is this: be the highest branch that she can monkey branch to. If the woman can't get a richer man or a man with more status, she's more likely to stay with you, because women hate being alone. Women cannot be alone. This is why there's this weird paradox of women are always single yet always taken at the same time. You rarely ever see a hot 25-year-old who doesn't have a boyfriend. They'll always have a boyfriend, but they're always having their eye out for the next guy. So the 25-year-old boyfriend might have a Porsche, but she's looking for the guy with the Lambo. So if you're the guy with the Lambo and you provide the most status that she can get, then she's probably less chance that she's going to leave you. So this is why we always recommend work on your 6/6s and don't get married until you're older, because you're going to have more money. So marry a younger woman, try to find one that's virtuous, maybe in church or whatever. But if she can't monkey branch, that mitigates the chances of her divorce raping you. Also a prenup. So prenups can be thrown out in every state. Okay?
Oh, fuck.
They can be thrown out. And there's a couple of ways to do it. One is if the female lawyer or the lawyer for the female can demonstrate that she will be put on welfare if they divorce, then the court will throw out the prenup, because theoretically they don't want more people on welfare, even though the radical left, of course, wants everybody dependent on the government. But that's one way they throw out the prenup. And the other way is just she has a really good lawyer. They can get the prenup thrown out. So prenups will give you protection. They will give you protection. So if you're going to get married, you have to try to sign the prenup. Now, a lot of blue pill simp men, when they bring up the prenup to the woman, say, I need you to sign this prenup or we're not going to get married. The woman, of course, is going to be raging, guilt trip, shame talk. What? You don't think our love's going to last forever? You think I'm a gold digger? And so many blue pill men will back down, be like, you know what, honey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend you to suggest that you would leave me. You don't have to sign the prenup. And see, and that is a very effeminate trait. Women want masculine men. And you've seen the last 3 decades, men have become pussies, right? And women have become more masculine. You go to the gym, you see all these women with the traps and the delts. They're all manly, all the tattoos. But deep down, men want feminine, virtuous women. Women want masculine men. And so we have this phenomenon called shit tests. Shit tests are little tests that women will do to see how masculine you are. And men have to pass it. So an example of a shit test is the prenup. So when she starts raging and saying, I won't sign this, so many men who have nice guy syndrome and pedestalize the woman will back down. No, you are the catch. You are the catch. You age like fine wine. You say, bitch, if you're not going to sign this, we're not getting married. See ya. I can find another woman. Abundance mindset. So many men have one-itis. They meet this woman. This is the only woman in the world for me. This is the only woman I could be happy with. And then they start rationalizing all her red flags. Yeah, I know she's a single mom, has 3 kids from 3 different men. She has like $200,000 in credit card debt, but she's the one. So when you have this scarcity mindset, you make stupid decisions like marrying that woman without the prenup. An abundance mindset man will be like, there's tons of women I can be compatible with if I want to marry, which of course I don't recommend you do. But there's thousands of women. If you're not going to sign the prenup, I'll find a woman who will. Because ultimately, I have to look out for me. Because, you know, the divorce rate, 75% of divorces are initiated by women. So chances are this woman's not even going to be around in 40 years when you're trying to retire. So that's the mindset you need to have when it comes to prenups. But so many men cave in because deep down they're pussies who are scared to be alone, and because they worship the woman and they have nice guy syndrome. So going back, so one way you can have kids is get married and just be the highest branch you can monkey branch to, and maybe you won't divorce. And you'll have kids, and this is what we want. Kids raised in a biologically intact household. This is what we want. This is what made society great, Western civilization great. The other option is just have kids out of wedlock, the illegitimate kids. So let's say you find a woman who seems like a nice woman, and you're like, woman, I'm never going to marry you, but I want to breed you out. Or, you know, whatever words you want to use. Like, I want to have a kid with you.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to marry you. Now, the smart thing about this is all she can get is child support from you. Now, like if you can work out a 50-50 arrangement where you're not even paying child support and you each have the kid, 15 days a month, that's great. That would be ideal. But if you can't work that out, all she can get is 20% of your total assets for one kid. She can't get 50 to 70% of your assets as if she could if she married you. So you're having your offspring, but you're mitigating the loss of her or her ability to take more money from you. So that's the other option. Just find a woman who seems like a good woman and just tell her, look, we'll have children together, but I'm never going to marry you. Then the third option that you see like rich Mgtow men do is they'll go abroad. So they'll go to Thailand or Colombia and they'll go to these surrogate agencies, or they'll just bang some woman and get her pregnant. And then they have a lawyer over there write up the paperwork where she will relinquish full custody of the child. You'll pay a certain amount of money up front, and then you can bring the child back as your child. That way, you know the child will always be yours. There's no chance of the woman taking your kid. The problem with this one is there's a couple. One is you have to have a lot of money up front. So somebody who's 25 really can't do this. Sure. The other thing is your child is never going to know their mother. And call me a trad con, but I think it's kind of important for kids to know their mom and their dad.
Absolutely.
So those are the three options, and they're all kind of fraught with their own peril. But this is what Mgtow men or bachelor men, whatever you want to call them, have to choose from if they want to have children.
Fuck.
So you need to think later on, let's say 20 years from now, you're like, okay, the Bugatti isn't good enough. Sure. I want a kid. That point, you'll probably have the money to do all three options. I would probably recommend, if you have a lot of money, you could try option one and get married and just make sure she signs the prenup and just be a badass, confident alpha male, and that she can't monkey branch away from. Make guard. We can talk about make guarding if you want, but make guard, and maybe you can have a successful marriage. Or you could do the other two options.
Fuck.
That's the beauty of having money. Do you know what the 6 6s are?
I don't. Give me 30 seconds. Let me go piss real quick. Tell them where your channel is. I'll put it in the description of the top comment. I got to go piss real quick. But yeah, I'll come right back.
Okay, so my podcast is called The Awakened Man. Go check it out. I have about 340 episodes. Most of them are related to men optimizing their all aspects of their life, physical health, psychological health. We talk a lot about Mgtow, dating, and stuff like that. And then the YouTube channel is Red Pill Men's Health. That's the main one. And also I have a sister channel called Gregory, the Red Guru, where I answer dating questions in little short 5-minute videos. I also talk about religion, libertarian politics, and so forth. That's the main way to reach me. And also I have redpillmenshealth.com, where I have courses over there. I have some books. You can buy some Mgtow merchandise and so forth. So I will start, Thomas, while you're voiding the bladder, and talk about the 6 6s. So the 6 6s is what women use to judge if a man is high quality enough. Did you hear that last part?
I heard 6 6s are not man high.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are the 6 6s. So this is what you want. This is what women are looking for. Okay, what? 1, 6-figure income. 2, 6-inch cock or more. 3, 6-pack abs. 4, 600 horsepower sports car or higher, stronger. 5 is going to be 6 feet tall or higher. And 6, the last one's really not important, be out of a relationship for at least 6 months. Okay. So this is what we call the 6 6s. This is what women are looking for. So if you can get as much of those 6 6s as possible, you'll be a more desirable catch for you to get the high sexual market value pick of the litter. So 6-figure income taps into the hypergamy. Women want to be with men who can provision and give them security. That makes sense. 600 horsepower sports car is kind of an extension of having the money. It shows that you have the money, but you really don't need the sports car, but shows that you have the money. 6 feet or taller. Women are wired to like men who are taller because their offspring will be taller. And then the 6-inch cock, ideally, if you can have that, I think that's one of those where if you're really rich, they don't give a damn if it's 5.1, right? And then the 6-pack abs, it just shows that you're in physical health. Again, it's not as important as the money part. But again, women would prefer to be with a guy in shape than a guy who's not in shape. Okay. And then the 6 months out of a relationship, that one's just bullshit. Because look, a woman, again, if Brad Pitt's just getting out of a relationship or whatever, or Ryan Gosling just broke up with Eva Mendes, a woman is not going to be like, you know what, Ryan Gosling, I'm going to wait 6 months until you're out of this relationship. No, they're going to jump on him as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So those are the 6 6s. So I tell people, pursue the 6/6s for you men. And then one of the ancillary benefits is, you're going to get more attention from women. But pursue the 6-figure income, because you being richer will give you a better life. Yeah. Right? Pursue the 6-pack abs, because if you're in better shape, you'll live longer. So the 6/6s can be used by men to better their own life.
Sure. Fuck. Where are you? Because if I recall correctly, you're divorced, correct?
Yeah.
You are, and you have one child.
I have 4.
4. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so I pay 50% to child support. So one of the reasons I created the channel was just my own personal story. So I was married. I had 3 kids. One was unintended, typical sexless marriage at the end, rager, cluster B personality disorder woman. And she tried to destroy me after she initiated the divorce. And then I had a rebound relationship immediately after. I met a woman who was a virtue signaling Mormon, sweet girl, everything that my ex-wife wasn't. And of course, at this point, I'm blue pill, right? I'm very blue pill. I wasn't red pill. So I'm like, oh, this woman's different, da-da-da-da-da. And then we conceived a child, unintended there. And later on, she monkey branched from me to a lawyer. And so because I have 2 different baby mamas, I pay 50% to child support.
Okay.
And so again, the court systems don't really care about the male plight. They don't care that a man can have their money taken by these women. These women can use the money whatever they want. They don't really care. They don't care. Men are interchangeable. 75% of suicides done in America are done by adult men. Mm-hmm. And it's not all because they're divorce rapes. Some of it is the opioid crisis. Some of it is they lost their jobs and they drink too much and then they take their life. But so that's kind of my story. And so I just felt like, I had my podcast for a long time. My podcast was more about big pharma cover-ups, medical conspiracy theories. I believe in holistic health and so forth. And then, so I created the YouTube channel probably about 1.5 years ago. And it's called Red Pill Men's Health because at the beginning I did videos on 2 videos a day, one on red pill, like dating stuff, and then one on physical health, like talk about the danger of plastics, the danger of fluoride. That's where the name comes from. Sure. And then I started that 1.5 years ago. And that's pretty much where I am. So at Red Pill Men's Health, we do a video a day. We do 2 live streams a week. And I have courses that I created that are over at redpillmenshealth.com. Then the Awakened Man is the podcast branch of it. And so I have the most episoded, most reviewed Mgtow channel in the pod world. So I take some pride in that. But these are ways that people can reach me. But either way, Thomas, look, I don't know how you view marriage and intersexual dynamics, but you're young. You haven't made the mistakes that I've made and older men have made. You are red pill aware, at least intellectually. The key on purging the relationship thirst, or the idea that your life is incomplete without a woman, is that you have to purge it in the heart, purge it and down here, nice guy syndrome, all these things. Because a lot of guys like you will understand the intellectual arguments for not marrying. But unless you purge it here, you're essentially 1 week away from the plantation, as we call it. The plantation is you working for the woman. Right?
1 wink away from the plantation.
Yeah. So who's your favorite celebrity crush? Like I used to say Blake Lively before she got married to Ryan Reynolds. Like I like that kind of tall, not a lot of makeup, white girl look. Sure. So I tell my subscribers, it's like, you've purged the thirst when Blake Lively knocks on your door and says, Thomas, I want you to marry me. I'll be your wife. Can you resist that? So that's why I said a lot of guys are 1 week away, because they'll be like, you know what, Gregory? Yeah. Because a lot of these guys are either incels or maybe they just can't get women. But if Blake Lively knocks on their door,
okay,
or Gigi Hadid, or whatever girl you think is cute,
choose your crush. She knocks on the door and she's Can
you resist? Can you resist?
Okay,
that's the key. So it's the intellectual and the emotional purging of the relationship thirst. But one of the reasons I do the channel is I am a cautionary tale. You don't want to be me. Sure. You don't want to be a man who's got to pay 50% to child support. So everything that I earn, talk about the progressive income tax, right? The more you work, the more the government takes your taxes. No matter what dollar I make, 50 cents goes to these women. And it drives me freaking crazy.
Well, I think that's why the reason why I asked that is I think it just makes your message that much stronger. If you were me, if you were 30 and never married and you're saying all that, I might be like, this sounds great, but this kind of sounds like Bernie Sanders saying, let's all just be friends. Like, hearing it from you, it means a lot more because you're like, right? You're like the Delta Force veteran. Like, let me fucking tell you about how it's going to go down. Fuck everything else. This is what's going to happen. That's why I take what you're saying to heart, is because you're speaking from experience. And it's like every red pill, it's terrifying. And it's, you kind of lean back a little bit. You're not sure. But like every red pill, it feels so good after you take it. You're like, okay, it's truth. You stare at it and it's truth, right? It's not looking at your test score. I don't want to look at it. I know I got it. Versus like, look at it. Fuck, I got a D. Let's go hit the library. And after a couple of days, you start to build confidence. You're like, okay, I just got to pull it up. I just got to get a good grade. And it sucks at first, but then you start working it and molding it, right. And you cure it at the foundation. It's taking a shot to forget about something versus why don't you go address the problem? Do some meditation. How about you go for a run, come back, and let's examine what it is that's bothering you. It hurts, and then it's better.
It's true. Like I talk to divorced men on my channel. I do coaching calls as well. And so I hear these stories of men who are getting divorced, raped, or losing their kids, and lost everything. And I tell them, it's like, it sucks, but it's going to get better because now you're an independent, autonomous man again. So now every dollar you make, you determine how you spend it. Because in a marriage, more often than not, again, women marry men who make more money than them. That's part of their hypergamy. But who's spending more of the money in the marriage? It's almost always the women. 65% of consumer debt is the woman. And so when they marry, it's you work, she spends. She's the one who wants the nicer house, the nicer car, designer clothes, nice furnishings. And the man, most men don't give a shit about these things.
Yeah.
I don't need a designer leather couch or whatever. Yeah. But the woman, because they're so dick-napped by the woman and henpecked by the woman, they're just, okay, you buy whatever you want. So you see these men coming out of divorce, and they're getting destroyed. But I tell them, it's like, now you are your own king.
Sure.
You determine how you live your life. If you want to be frugal and save your money, you can do that. If you want to go buy your Lambo, if you have the money, you can go do that. If you want to travel, you can do that. You can live where you want. You can walk around in your underwear all day. You can play video games and eat Hot Pockets. You can start a side gig. It's your choice. And this is the way America used to be, the frontier mindset. You work hard, make good choices, you reap the benefits. You make poor choices or you don't plan, you'll suffer and maybe die out in the woods. I mean, this is a very kind of primordial masculine view, is now you're in charge of your own life. What are you going to do with it? And that's kind of the positive message of Mgtow is, yeah, like you just mentioned, the pill's hard to take, but now that you're divorced, now the future can be bright if you make the right choices, if you purge your addictions and your demons, you work on your financial health, you purge the relationship thirst so you don't get married again. The divorce rate of second marriages is 70%. The divorce rate of third marriages is 80%. But I always talk about on the channel, 10 men get divorced. 7 of them will go back on the dating market. 2 will go Mgtow or bachelor, never marry again. And then 1's going to kill himself or drink himself to death. Sure. So the large majority of men who get divorce raped, they think that woman was the exception, right? And we say this is AWOL and AWOL. All women are like that, or not all women are like that. So when they get divorced the first time, they're like, oh, she was bad. She was a rager. She took my kids. She called the cops, got me thrown in jail on false allegations. But not all women are like that. Not all women are like that. And then what they don't realize is women all have these certain inherent features in them, solipsism, hypergamy. And what they'll realize is, oh, yeah, all women are like that. Because ultimately, all that really matters is the same court system. So whether you marry the trad-con conservative girl or the hot mess, the court system is still there to support them. You can't escape the court system. This is why I always say, I'm not anti-woman, I'm anti the court system, because the court system and government is the gun father and husband of the woman. So at any time, she can use the court system to destroy you. And because we have the welfare state, men have become obsolete. Look at the illegitimacy rate in 1950, 2%. Now it's 70% in the Black community, 40% in the Hispanic and white community. Why? Because women don't need to marry men because they can just get money from the government through welfare, and they get more money by the more kids that they have, and so forth. That's one of the reasons society is being destroyed. We have to get rid of welfare, but we're never going to get rid of welfare. It's never going to happen.
Fuck, but I'm thinking about like what you're like right now where I am, man. Like I have creative control over the podcast. Those are all stipulations in the contract. I get to choose my guests. No one gets to tell me who I can't have on. So right, like for instance, I love Cold War history, right? I love conspiracies and shit. I'm gonna email you a book after this. But like right now, how I get guests, like I choose a book I like, I listen to it. I have an Xbox right here. I mute it. And I listen to audiobooks. That's how I fucking go through hours and hours of or information a day. I mean, 10, 12 hours a day. And now that I'm making money by waking up. I go to the gym. I meditate. And then I come in here. I do a podcast. Most days I do too. I turn on the audiobook I'm listening to. And I mute the whatever I'm playing. Ace Combat, flying F-22s around. And I do that. And then I go to bed. I have no... It's like I'm at this level of freedom that like it's kind of, and I don't mean this in like some cocky way, but like it's almost like I don't know how to like look to others for advice, because how many people got into med school, didn't go, started a podcast, and now make money playing video games, choosing their own guests and their own schedule. You know, like it's very... I mean, it's a blessing. To me, it's like proof of God. Like, okay, like I know my brother's looking after me. But there's part of me that gets very nervous now, right? Because, like I said, college, I mean, shredded. I mean, looked disgusting. Straight A doctor. For several years, gained a ton of weight after my brother died. Got into a lot of drugs. Turned into a real piece of shit. Lost all market value. Now I've lost most of the weight, not all of it, but most of it. I'm getting back. And now is in the last 2 months, now I have an income. And now all of a sudden I'm broke to, okay, now I'm doing my own thing, doing whatever I want. There's a really big part of me that's like, at first I was like, oh, I'm getting this like market value back up. You know, I'm single, I'm slowly losing the weight, I've got money, I've got a cool job now. How many people can say they do this? But part of me gets really nervous, and it's like, whoa. Why am I jumping back into that? Why don't I just keep doing what I'm doing? Why don't I go get...
What do you mean by jumping back into that? You mean like dating?
Dating. Part of me is like, why don't I just get like a vasectomy and not date and not get married and just do this? Like, am I... And I'm like, well, who else does that? But then part of me is like, am I just like kind of... Am I pioneering this path that the reason why I can't find any advice is because no one's done it? Like,
no, there's a guy I know. I had him on my channel, sure. Aaron Clary. He's got...
I had him on.
Okay, you know, yeah. So he had a vasectomy. He had a vasectomy because he's like, I don't want to have kids, and I don't want to, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know his story. So I mean, you could do that. I would say with dating, it's like this. Look, there are some men who see marriage as the most expensive form of prostitution. And again, this is kind of a reductionist view of marriage. But think about it: dating, engagement, marriage. It's the same concept. The man is giving resources for what? Pussy.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you kind of have this mindset, it's a very kind of jaded black pill view of it. But if you don't want to give up your freedom and you like your life, you got your buddies, you got your family, then some guys just do prostitutes, right? Or they become sugar daddies. That's something you can do. You know, if you don't, you know, the sugar daddies kind of phenomenon where you can just hire a girl, you pick a girl. You know, you can go to these sites like Seeking.com is one of the bigger ones. And there's some studies. Actually, there was one that said University of Georgia, 1 in 10 girls at UGA are on sugar sites. It's a humongous thing now because the sugar, the way it works is this. So you go to like Seeking.com and it'll have profiles like Match or eHarmony. And it'll be like these girls. Let's say you're 21-year-old co-ed. And she'll essentially put a price. Like for $3,000 a month, I'll be your girl. And whatever girl means is negotiated.
Sure.
So you see these older men who are like, I got all this money. I don't want to risk getting married. But also, I don't really like spending a lot of time with women because they really don't bring anything like intellectually to the table. But I still want to have the hottie that I could bank. So they have this arrangement where they pay $2,000-$3,000 a month or whatever wage it is. And then you have this woman come over. You can take her out on dates. If you have big functions you got to go to, you have this hot piece of ass by your side. And it's an arrangement. So you have some men of wealth who are older, who are red pill. They're like, fuck that. Why am I going to get married? I can just get a sugar baby. So that's an option you have. So you could do hookers, you could do sugar babies, or you could just do short-term relationships, but tell the women up front, maintain frame, be masculine, and just be honest. Be like, look, I'm not going to get married. Or maybe, say in 15 years, maybe I'll get married. I'm not going to get married now. And I just believe in honesty with women. Just say, this is just a short-term relationship, and that's all it's going to be. Tell her up front. Now, a lot of women, if they see you as a high sexual market value man, they'll be like, oh yeah, but you haven't gotten a taste of my pussy, you'll wait. And so women will try harder on these kind of George Clooney bachelor guys before George Clooney got married. They'll try harder because, oh, you think you're going to be a bachelor? You're not going to fall in love with me. So they try harder. But also, it's a masculine thing. It's called plate spinning. So when you have a bunch of women in your life and on different stages of dating, it's just very masculine. You just tell the woman, it's like, yeah, we're just going to date. Just so you know, I'm dating this woman too. If you don't like it, that's fine. I understand. Get the hell out.
Yeah.
I'll find another one. Again, going back to abundance mindset.
Yeah.
I'll find another.
Yeah.
I'm not going to cave into my life or my values for your shit test. I'll just find another.
It's it's capitalism.
Right. That's the mindset. There's a saying, whoever needs the other person the least is in the position of power. And you always want to be the person that needs the other person the least. So you never want to be the one who falls in love. And certainly don't ever tell the woman first that you fall in love. So you want to have this kind of masculine mindset. It's like, yeah, if you don't like this arrangement, get the fuck out. I'm cool with it. I mean, I understand, right? You want to get married or you have a ticking fertility time bomb. I get it. But it's not for me. If you don't like it, get the hell out. And that way you maintain your values, you maintain frame, you're very masculine. And a lot of women are going to respond to this because that is a masculine thing, is to say, you're the 10th most important thing in my life behind God, hummus, puppies, the winds, whatever. Just put a woman in her place. You're never going to be important in my life. A lot of women respond like, oh my God, this guy is like, I don't see guys like this, because what women always lament that all men now are pussies who worship them. So on one level, they like the narcissistic feed that they get, but another level, they're like, where are all the masculine men? So when a man says something like that, like, hey, we're just going to bang short-term relationship, you don't like, get the hell out, you're passing all these shit tests, they're like, God, this is so refreshing. He's so masculine. They'll want to be with you.
Dude, when I was in college, great shape, prospective doctor, and would just openly be like, no, I'm just waiting for the right girl. As much as all my guy friends used to shit on me, because they'd be like, dude, you're not fucking, how come you're not getting pussy? At the same time, they'd be like, Jesus Christ in heaven, if it's not like a goddamn black hole, they just throw themselves. Because it wasn't a game. It wasn't I'm playing hard to get. I was like, I'm legitimately not interested in you. And it almost made it like, it was like a nuisance. It was like, I truly am not interested in you. Like, I'm really not trying. I'm not playing hard to get. Like, I legitimately don't want your number. And it didn't work. They just came back harder. And I've often thought like, what if you just go the whole way, right? For me, the first thing was like, okay, I don't want to be a doctor. That took a lot to be like, I don't want to do this. Be honest with yourself. I don't want to do this. And then when I got into pharmacy school, it was a little easier to say, I don't know if I want to do this. And then I started graphic design. I don't know if I want to do this. And to boil down to where it's like, I have just been so steadfast in like freedom that it's like, now I am 30 years old, make just shy of 6 figures, playing video games, listening to audiobooks, choosing my guests with my own sweatshirt that I design, doing whatever I want. And the thought thickens, right?
Why would you want to give that up?
And it keeps going, but part of me is like, well, what if I just kept going? What if the next step is like, what's the real red pill? And I've thought about this a lot. It was like, what if you do go get like the cabin? What if you just cut out social media? What if you cut out like how hard can you go down the Buddha route? Right? There's 2 types of Buddhas. There's the Pratyeka Buddha, which becomes a Buddha, comes back and helps others. And then there's the Bodhisattva, which just goes off into his bliss and is never to be seen again. Part of me is like, am I just at like, I feel like I'm at the top, but I'm like, am I just at the foothill of the mountain? Is the real peak, you're living on the top of the fucking Himalayas no kids, no wife, no debt, and every day you're just in this like meditative trance and one like sexual unison with all of the universe and consciousness, and like and it's like, is there just like, I feel like I'm at the top, but it's just like, you know, when you go through a video game and you beat it on hard and then you finish it and you're like, I did it, and then it's like you've unlocked veteran mode. You're like, oh, there's a whole new mode. And then you beat veteran, it's like you've unlocked ace, and you're like, fuck, it keeps going. Like, how deep does like the red pill rabbit hole go? Is it like you're just at the beginning, go off into the woods, become one with God?
I'll tell you this. So you have a couple things going for you, Thomas. I mean, the fact that you have this benefactor and you're making six figures at 30, I mean, that's amazing. You're Just shot. But your SMBs, it's going to be off the chart in 10, 15 years. With social media, the studies have all shown that the more time you spend on social media, especially women, the higher rate of eating disorders, depression, and all these things. So it's best to stay off social media completely. And in terms of like...
I was going to say, when we were messaging each other, you were like, I don't really check Instagram. I wasn't lying when I was like, dude, I download Instagram every day to post today's podcast and then delete it. I was literally downloading it to check my message with you. So yeah,
women, it's, you know, women are addicted to them. I mean, for women, it's more like Pinterest and, you know, Instagram, Snap. For men, I think it's more like gaming and porn, I think, or the screen problems that we deal with. But in terms of like, how far can this go? I mean, look, if you look at church history, we had desert fathers that just lived in caves in the Sinai Peninsula, and they lived content lives. Of course, we have the Buddhist examples. So it's really, what kind of life do you want? Like when you're 46, I'm about to turn 47 in a week. Do you want to have the two houses, you know, East Coast, West Coast, and have 4 sports cars? That's fine. You can have that. Or do you want to have more of like, I live on a boat and sail around the world? Or do you want to have the kind of just, I'm just living in a cabin, you know, accruing all this money? You know, you can do whatever you want. That's what we say the versatility of Mgtow is. You can be a monk, or you can pump and dump and bang. It's the choice is yours. The world is your oyster, because right now you have no kids and you're not married. So you have this latitude, not to mention the benefactor that you have. You have this latitude that someone like me doesn't have. I have kids, so I'm kind of, I want to stay in the town that I'm at so I can see my kids and have some sort of influence.
Be a father, yeah.
Yeah, and I pay all this money to child support. I have another job, so I have to, you know, try to hide my identity, because my previous job, we didn't talk about this. So I got doxxed. I got fired because there was a woman at my job who somehow found out about the channel, because I didn't talk about, you know, where I work or even use my real name. But she found out about it, and she said it was hate speech. So they went to HR and they got me fired. And I told HR, I was like, okay, if a woman had a channel where she's talking about working on your physical health, working on your financial health, and then having videos like, watch out for narcissistic men, these are signs of narcissistic men, that would be praised, right? That would be praised. It's a female empowerment, exactly. But a man has that channel, it's hate speech. And of course, you can't reason with HR because they're all part of the corporate Borg, and they're all infected by feminism, and they're worried about other issues. So, you know, so I don't have the luxury that you have. So your life can be whatever you want it to be, brother. I mean, on days, maybe if you feel like a little down or depressed, just remember, man, the world is what you want it to be, and you can do whatever you want, man. If you want to go to Tibet, you want to just sail around the world, you're the one who's going to be fundamentally the one who makes the good decisions or the bad decisions. And as your guest, and my specialty is marriage and all these things, marriage would be a bad decision. But if you're going to get married, wait 15 years, make sure they have a prenup, and be the highest guy that she can monkey branch to. And try to find a good, virtuous woman who hasn't been driven through, like the Holland Tunnel. That's what I would tell you.
As this podcast gets bigger, and I because right now it's like, it's cool, it's the most money I've ever made by a long shot, but like my end goal is to get to fuck you money. And one thing you said, like, you can be whatever you want. I meditate every day, and I have for 12 plus years, and it dawned on me about 2 years ago, because I realized I didn't know what I wanted, and then it dawned on me that I want to make so much money and have so much freedom that I can be free to not know what I want. That's
profound.
Yeah,
that's profound.
I was like, I want to not. It's like a video game on God mode. You turn on invincibility, you turn off timers and deadlines, and you're just like, I'm gonna try to land a helicopter on top of a whale. Fuck it, because that's what I'm doing. I want to be free to not know what I want. Yeah, you got what I said. I'm butchering it now. I want to be free to not have to know what I want. Instead of like a financial advisor, I think you're going to be my guru. You're going to be my red pill advisor.
Well, man, anytime you want to talk, if you're feeling tempted, as we call it, you're getting dick napped, or you're feeling the thirst for a woman, there's nothing wrong with that. Like we talk about, there's nothing wrong with this sex thirst. We are men, and you're young.
We're animals.
Right, you're young, dumb, and full of you know what. Well, I can say you come here.
Yeah.
But with age, and this is why we say like 35 to 50 is the peak years for men, because you might not know now because you're young, but you think of somebody who's 42, 46 is old, but we still have vitality, we still have virility, we still get erections, all this shit. But you tend to have more money at this age. That's why the sweet spot for men is like 35 to 50, right? So like I mentioned, if you feel tempted to marry or you're falling in love, I can always be there just to kind of not like squash your dreams, kind of
smack me around.
But sex thirst is normal. And we all like sex. Nobody's denying that. We all like physical intimacy with a woman, holding a woman, fucking a woman, whatever. Of course we like that. Yeah. But we just have to maintain our senses, because men get dick napped. Let's be real. We put on the rose-colored spectacles when we meet the right woman. It's the oxytocin that's being made and the dopamine. And so sometimes we just need to just, like cool the jets and ultimately like just always do the most masculine thing. When it comes to being with a woman, always have the abundance mindset. She's great, but there's a zillion other great women you could find, and always make the masculine choice. And the masculine choice is always to be, I don't need you in my life. And a lot of women will respond to that. They will respond to it. And if you find a woman who doesn't respond to it, okay, get the hell out. You'll find another one. Just don't lose who you are, and don't lose your frame, as we say.
What if you meet a woman who makes more than you and doesn't want to be married? She comes at you, hey, like she, cuts you, like, hey, just so you know, like, I don't want to be married.
Okay.
Is that a unicorn?
These are two things that I wouldn't say don't exist, but yeah, okay. So a woman.
But if you do, hypothetically.
Okay. But again, this is like hypothetically, you find a woman who's 21 and is 21 forever. Come on. But let's just say theoretically. So a woman who would want to be with me, who makes more than me, that goes against female wiring. And a woman who doesn't want to get married goes against female wiring. But if I were to find a woman that is cool with that, would I date her? I'd date her, but I would maintain frame and tell her, look, we're never going to get married, da 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 da. I mean, there's no woman out there that's really to the point that I would lose my values. I've purged the relationship thirst, this idea that your life's incomplete without a woman. So no, I would have maybe some sort of, I don't know, because again, short terms, you still have levels of risk.
Sure.
This woman might seem nice and sweet, but still you're always one phone call away. Now the PUA guys would say, it's okay because you're getting laid. That is risk. Life is risk. And I agree, man. Every time we get in a car, it is risk. You create a podcast, is risk. Men like risk. We're entrepreneurial. We like to take risk. But at the same time, taking risk on the biggest thing that you can do in your life, which is marriage, is a risk that a lot of men, red pill men, don't want to take, because the benefits of marriage, now you can get outside of the confines of marriage. Whereas beforehand, if you wanted sex, you only had two options: the town whore, or you got married and all the women were virgins. But now a lot of the benefits of marriage you can get without marrying the woman. You can just have short-term or long-term relationships and just not live together. And you will maintain some risk by dating. But me, I have kids. Yeah. So for me, monk works. I don't need to have more kids. Trust me, I don't want more kids, right? 50% of child support. But I don't need kids. So since I don't need kids, why would I date?
Sure.
And again, it's just, I don't know, maybe because I'm older and I have kids. Whereas a man your age really wants to have children, let's say, and he hasn't purged the thirst, being a Mgtow monk is less attractive to them because they want to have kids. And clearly, if you're going to be a monk your whole life, you're not going to, it's going to be hard to have kids. So Mgtow is all, we're all on different roads and different paths. Yeah. And it's not like there's a set ideology. Yeah. It's just a general philosophy, and every man kind of adapts it to whatever works for them.
Yeah. I mean, the weird thing is like looking back in hindsight, like I like I was Mgtow in college, but like I didn't even know what that was. But like didn't sleep around, studied all the time. I drank like once or twice a semester, woke up at 5 every morning, worked out in my room. I took cold showers. I meditated a couple times a day. And I look back at that time when on paper it looks like the most miserable thing in the world. All I did was study. That was the most at peace I've ever. It was 4 years. That was the most at peace of it. Struggle like you can't imagine, but peace. Every day I was grinding towards this impossible goal, getting in and being like a meathead. Never was like an academic in my life. Maintaining like near perfect physical fitness, cold showers, rarely drinking, rarely smoking. It would be like a celebration at the end of the year when I got a 4.0. And I look back on that now and I'm like, that was like the most bliss-filled life. It was just this pure.
Yeah.
And that entire time I was in there, I kept a journal for 4 years. I kept a journal of that subjectively.
Yeah.
And then for years afterwards, after college, after I lost my brother, and I was like, I need to indulge in all of it. That was the most miserable time of my life. It's this.
Yeah. And this is something that the left won't tell you. You know, you become a slave to the vices in your life.
The hedonism. You drown in it.
This is what the devil tells you: do it. You know, sleep around, drink, live a debauched life like the prodigal son. Yeah, but that life doesn't bring you happiness. If you were to have 125-year-old thoughts in a room and you ask them, how many are you happy? Honestly, most of them would not raise their hand. Most of them are on antidepressants and anxiety drugs because that lifestyle is destructive. This is what the Bible has always taught. This is what the church has always taught. People see the church and the Bible as all these, you can't, sin. But really it's kind of a guideline because God knows better. A certain lifestyle is destructive, and a lifestyle that's more conducive to the 10 Commandments and being virtuous and not sleeping around leads to a better life. And so it's not surprising that you had more bliss during that time. But also, women bring drama to a man's life. You know, we talk about the hot mess, right? The more beautiful the woman is, the more weird. Have you ever seen like Wolf of Wall Street? You ever seen that movie? Yeah. So Naomi, like what's Margot Robbie's character? It's the same thing. Like you see so many red pill tropes in that movie, right? He dumps his good wife for the hot woman, right? And then what? Look at the dynamic at the beginning. He's giving her all the stuff, all the yacht, the jewelry. Yeah. He's dumb enough to marry a woman who cheated with him behind his back. So I mean, you see, and then she, of course, is like, why would you marry a man who cheated behind his wife's back? Is he not going to cheat on you? But again, Margot Robbie's character is all about hypergamy. I can marry this very rich man who's going to name a fucking yacht after me.
Yeah.
And then you see they get married, and what does she do? She's the bait and switch. She starts raging. She's yelling. He's not getting sex as much. And so you see just a lot of red pill kind of things played out in that movie. But women in general bring drama. If you live alone, like I do, you have the tranquility. And part of that is because you control what comes into your life, whether it be short-term relationships with women, friends, social media. You control the anxiety or lack of it in your life. So if you want, you can just detach and just play video games all day and not interact. But when you're married, you're living with somebody else. But typically women are the ones that bring the drama, whether it be like with you, nagging you all the time, or their friends or their family and all these things. So men who want tranquility, best thing to do is be single because you bring in the tranquility. You determine what you want in your life.
I think that's what I need to do. Is I look at it as like I can always go get married. You can always settle down, but I can't ever like undo that. And right now, I don't want to cheat myself and say I've been handed a good card or a good hand because I've worked my fucking ass off. But like, I have like a hand that happens like once in 100 million lifetimes. I kind of think I need to like explore this fully. And, you know, maybe I run the whole solo bliss, do whatever I want, and maybe that's fun for like a decade, and maybe as I get older I'm like, hey, you know, it would be really fulfilling would be like, you know, a family. And maybe that's the case, and it has its downfalls and everything. But I think right now, like, I shouldn't be quick to, you know, jump off this island. Like, I've
You're in a
landed
good place. You like your life right now. Why change things? In terms of intersexual relations, in terms of women, why change things?
Yeah. Fuck.
But hey, I do need to
go. I was about to say.
Talked an hour and a half longer.
I was about to say, you were like, let's aim for an hour. 2 hours and 20 minutes later. I was like,
hey, man, it's like Rogan, man. You know, when I used to listen to Rogan, I'd be like, God, I can't get through 3 hours, even if it's somebody interesting. But like when Kanye was on, I couldn't listen to Kanye for 3 hours, man. It's just because it's all, you know how Kanye is. But like we just did a 3-hour interview.
Yeah.
So I had to like
Alex Jones, man. I turn on his episodes with Rogan and I'm like, I get sucked in. He's crazy, but goddamn do I love him. But yeah, man, thanks for coming on, man. And dude, thank you. That was a beautiful session. I just got like a one-on-one with like an Aristotle of Red Pill, so I appreciate that. I think Aristotle fucked kids, so never mind. That's bad. But that was beautiful, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. So when is this going to be up?
So all I do is I run it through iMovie, and it kind of like equalizes the sound, whatever the fuck that means, and then uploads with my shitty internet. But it'll be up before midnight tonight.
What title are you going to use?
What would you like?
We could do like Red Pill Talk with Gregory from Red Pill Men's Health, or what's men going their own way?
Yeah, you can do. You choose.
Men going their own way. What is men going their own way with Gregory from Red Pill Men's Health? Something like that.
Sure.
So, because I mean, we talked about a lot of stuff, but I mean, I don't know what you do with your other titles if you just keep them like
titles. I normally do the name. And then I always do like what the bulk of the conversation was. So even a conversation might go into aliens and UFOs, but if the bulk of the conversation was Cold War submarines, that will be I try to choose like percentage wise of what I think it was. Or like I don't give a fuck if the guest is like, can you title this? I'm like, sure. I don't care. It's whatever you want. I try to give as much to you. You gave me content. If you want, it's going to take like an hour or two to run through iMovie. So if in that time you just want to email me back, you can literally type out what you want it to be, and I'll just copy and paste it.
No, we can just do something like why men should go their own way.
Sure.
With Gregory from Red Pill Men's Health.
Sure. And I'll put in, if you will, please email me just like the links and shit, and I will copy paste that description, top comment. And dude, you have a running spot on this podcast. You tell me. Please, you can come back on anytime you like. Sincerely, I thoroughly enjoy that. I feel most podcasts are very fun. Today was fun, and I also feel like I did Red Pill. Uncomfortable, but feeling better. Definitely feeling better. Cool. Yeah, man.
I appreciate that.
Of course,
all right, so I'll send you the links like pretty soon.
Please do.
An hour.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, man. And I was gonna say, if you want, man, I'll print one of these out for you. It's and the thought thickens, and it's just got Marilyn Monroe.
To the lips.
Yeah,
that's great.
I like it. But
you just make sweatshirts at home. You have like a.
Oh no! I get them printed online. But I taught myself graphic design over 2 years, so I just make weird shit. You can look at I have these weird. I have like an Alex Jones one. Yeah. It's like all of his rants. I made like a Kanye one. It just says thanks Kanye. Very cool. I've got these weird psychedelic ones, Area 51 ones, like Bob Lazar UFOs.
That's cool. Because I use Teespring to make. I have Mgtow shirts. A man and a woman shooting a finger at the woman. But I use Teespring. The problem with Teespring is they take 50%.
Oh yeah.
Of the profit. So they're like $21, but they get 12 of it.
Yeah. No, I did that for a while with Printful, and then I shut down the store. So I don't even do it for profit anymore. When I have a sweatshirt that I want, I make one. Like it's one of one. Literally give me 10 seconds. I'm gonna grab the other sweatshirt, show you, and then I'll let you go. All right. So I don't know where the rest of them, but like here's two of them. Like here's this this is all shit I made on like an iPad 2 years ago. This is all like pharaohs and psychedelic LSD shit.
It is psychedelic.
Yeah, man. It's just King.
It's like 1968.
Yeah, it's just King Tut, just like his face cut out and then just copy and pasted. And then this one is probably my favorite one. This is all. It's like an alien, And it's got Bob Lazar on the back.
Yeah.
And then I took all these like schematics, like these declassified.
So you drew that? You drew that his face? Or you got that like online and you were able to like paste
I took it and I turned it into like a vector. You can just put it through a filter. It's just, I did it all on my iPad. It's all just, so like these like images, like that's like an image of like a turbine or something. I took it, turned it into a vector, and then I put it all on like a blueprint because I wanted it to look like Area 51 blueprints. And then like the front pocket and the cuffs are actually the 1947 Roswell newspaper. So I got that thing. I found a high resolution scan of it, and it's it's the newspaper, so you can actually go in and like read the article. Here's a Kanye one. Oh yeah, here it is. It just says, "Thanks, Kanye." Very cool. And then on the back is Kanye. Here's one that's just got like the Constitution for a hood. And then
that's cool.
Like I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. And I don't know where this one's still in the bag, but it's Alex Jones, and it's Alex Jones, and it's his rant from the second time he went on Rogan, where he starts this rant about like he's like the elite are all about transcendence and the interdimensional demons, and I loved it so much that I typed out. I took like 2 hours. I typed out the rant, put it through a filter so it looks like it matched the handwriting of Da Vinci, and then I took the Vitruvian Man and I put Alex Jones's face on it.
How funny!
So it's Alex Jones, and if you can go through and read the whole like 2,000 word rant, where it's just to merge with machines, transcend our species. It's just this whole fucking just psycho crazy shit. And
hey man, but you got the passion, you got the time to do it. You should do it. It's fun.
Yeah, man. It's sorry that little show and tell. I get excited about these, but yeah, man. Again, thank you.
So I'll send you the episode. I gotta go take a leak.
I know. Yeah, I know. I've been doing my little kindergarten show and tell. I'm like, look at my cool shit I made. Look at my art project. But
it was great. You're creative, man. Yeah. I couldn't do stuff like that.
Thanks, man. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. I gotta go piss too, so we'll wrap this up. But email me. All right.
All right.
All right, my man. You have a good one, buddy. Yeah, thank you.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.